across the board. And if you've been thinking about writing a will, you just haven't got round to it, this is that first step that you can take.
I think sometimes you think it's going to be really expensive. Well, you're going to see that is untrue because we've got such great deals tonight. They will sadly go back up in price, close the business on Friday, so it is a time-limited offer. So jot down, first of all, if you're thinking about a will, at full price, incredible value for money at £249, because if you don't write your own legal will, sadly, the government will not be what you want to happen. It's a list of yes or no questions, and what you want to happen with what you've worked so hard for, actually, there's no chance. It's not right for anybody. Now, our normal price is £99. Incredible deal with us here on Shop on TV, but actually you've got, until close of business on Friday, an extra 10% off, so £89, and then that can be split into 4 payments, so £22.25 is the first of those 4 payments. So first of all, so affordable to write a will, but Simple Law also make it so easy. But then we've got lasting power of attorney.
Yeah, and you may have heard of the term lasting power of attorney, but you're not quite sure what it means. Well, we'll explain that as we go through the show. Lasting power of attorney, the suggested retail price of $349. Again, when you find out what it is, you'll know that's a great price. But our offer price should be $199, but we're going to give you an extra 10% discount there. So that means it comes down to £179. And with those 4 interest-free payments, it's $44.75 on your first of 4 payments. However, the biggest saving of all is if you go for a will and lasting power of attorney.
Yeah, remember, as long as you secure the deals tonight, and that is all you're doing when you get in touch, if you just do the will, first of all, and think, I'm just going to do the will, but as you watch the show, think, why didn't I do the will and lasting power of attorney? Simple Law will allow you to secure the deal for any of these prices, whichever option you decide to go with. It should be, for the will and lasting power of attorney, virtually £600. Our incredible saving is £269. That's our regular price, but you have got that further 10% off until close of business on Friday. So £242 is your deal for your will and lasting power of attorney. And then, of course, you can split that cost with 4 payments. £60.50 is the first of those 4 payments. Now, there's lots of reasons to get in touch straight away. One is to secure those deals, but also, and you'll forget, if you think, oh, I'll do it Wednesday, I'll do it Thursday, you'll have forgotten by then. Do it right now. Actually, what day are we on now?
I'm not sure.
Oh, whatever day it is, but you will get confused when all of a sudden the weekend will come and you think, I didn't secure the deals. Where are we? And that's what you like. And then all of a sudden all those prices have gone back up. So definitely do it now. But actually, the first 250 people will also get this fabulous book. And I've always said, and I'm incorrect really, I've always said you should have it from birth, but birth is too early. But from when you first start work, when you get in bank accounts and things, this is a book that I think everybody should have.
And what you put in here is all your details of pretty much everything that you need. Things like pensions, life insurance policies.
So that vital information the family will be looking for, you know, if you do pass. We'll be hunting through boxes for letters. Well, a lot of information that now is actually on tablets, isn't it? It's on your phone. So it's even things like your passwords. And it might not be an email that you're looking for, a really important email. It might be that you just want to get that photograph that your mum and dad perhaps have, and you can't get on to that tablet because you don't know the password. All that information, that vital information, is right in there.
First 250 people will get that as part of the offer if you take advantage.
And it nearly always goes, and then you're like, can I buy it? You will get it if you actually secure your deals tonight and go through with writing your will or your lasting power of attorney. Now, it's really easy to get in touch as well, because if you do want to secure the deal, you don't need any information right now at all. You just need to get in touch in some way. And you've got great options.
So direct, you'll get in touch with Simpler Law.
So you can get in touch with Simpler Law, which is simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, and that's a really easy way to get in touch. You can get in touch on the phones as well. The team are there until 3 a.m. and they'll be back during the day hours as well, but best to do it right now so you know you've done that. That's 0333 600 2600. But the most popular, and I love this because perhaps you're at home right now, perhaps you're just in from work, or you're about to go out to work, or you're about to go to bed, and you think, I don't really want to speak to anybody. You can just text the word will to 66777. Now, if you do that right now, you haven't spoken to anybody. What you've done, though, is you've secured those prices that we've talked about, and then the team will get back in touch with you probably later on today or in the next couple of days to make sure they can sort out a day that's right for you to actually sit down and really chat about your will or lasting power of attorney, whatever you choose to do. Now, if you're used to getting in touch via our website, shopontv.co.uk, you can, of course, go through our website. And if you go through our website, if you scroll down to about middle way down our website, you'll find you can then go and find our simpler law. So do make sure you do not miss out. And of course, we have got Post Gold for Cash coming up a little bit later on tomorrow, I think. So if you scroll down, middle page, that's it, all the way down. Where are we?
And
there
you'll see all our partners there. Yeah, our on-screen partners. Click on Simpler Law just to the right-hand side there. It'll take you directly through to the office. And
that's great. It gives you all the ideas of all the prices. And then this is really easy. You can actually secure the deals by going through this form.
Yeah, and it's very, very straightforward. As you can see there, just your name, your phone, your email, answer a couple of questions. And as Hayley said earlier, if you go for the will initially and then you change your mind and you want to add in lasting power of attorney, because you've secured the offer, you'll secure those prices across the board.
Yeah, so do stay with us because we've got the team from Simpler Law here and we will chat through just how important it is. If you haven't written a will, I know you may think I've told the family, the kids know what I want to happen, and perhaps there's someone in the family you don't want to get certain things. They know that, but sadly, if you pass without a legally binding will, the government will fall into place. And it's not what you want to happen.
It's just a series of yes-no questions, isn't it?
It's like 100 years old.
Yeah.
So, honestly, it's not going to be... What you've worked so hard for, make sure what you want to happen, you know, make sure it goes to your loved ones. It doesn't have to be family. It might be charity, but make sure it's legally written down so that when you do pass, what you want to happen actually truly does.
It is all about taking that first step. If you've been thinking about writing a will, you just haven't got round to it. That's usually the case. Or you think it's going to be too expensive. That's the other thing.
Or really complicated. I'm really frightened of anything legal. Honestly, all you need to do is, what we're going to do tonight is sit down and chat with Simpler Law. The team from Simpler Law are fantastic. They know you know the answers and they've got the questions. So you don't need to know anything apart from you definitely want to write a will, and you definitely do. You've perhaps seen it on the news, perhaps seen it in the papers very recently, how important that is. But also lasting power of attorney. Stay with us to learn more about that as well.
And remember, you're going direct to simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. We've got lots to tell you as we go through the show, and we'll be right back after this.
Merry Christmas!
Hello and a very good morning. Welcome to Shop on TV. I'm Hayley Green.
And I'm Sean Crawley.
And together we've got a show that I think you'll be really pleased you've switched on to watch, because I don't think we didn't realise how important it is to physically write a legally binding will. I think you think if you've told the family what you want to happen, and they know, I've told the kids, you think that's what will happen when you pass. But sadly, if you haven't written a legally binding will, the government will falls into place, and that government will isn't right for anybody.
It might be the fact that you just haven't got round to writing a will.
Put things off, don't we? You'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. Or perhaps it is the fact you think it's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, that's the other thing that puts you off.
For me, it's legal. I think it's going to be terrifying, and I'm going to have no clue what anybody's on about. It's going to be all long words. Honestly, with Simpler Law, who are with us tonight, or this morning, however you want to look at it, It's so simple to do, but it's also so affordable.
And we're going to talk you through how easy it is and the prices. Let's talk about the prices, actually, because the deals that we're offering you today are massively discounted. It's not just wills we're talking about. We're also going to be talking about lasting powers of attorney.
And I think lots of you may have heard a lasting power of attorney, not really sure. Do stay with us, because that is just as important as a will. But take a look at the prices, because price-wise, you have got incredible savings, extra savings, actually, to our regular price, but only up until Friday at close of business. So if you are thinking, yeah, I must do a will, I've been meaning to do a will, actually, regular price, I thought it'd be in the thousands, normally £249. So a great price at full price. But our normal saving brings you down then to £99 to write your legally binding will. But you've got an extra 10% off until close of business on Friday. So £89 is your price right now. And all you need to do is secure that price this morning. And that can be split as well into 4 payments of just £22.25. And if you actually think of what you spend perhaps on coffee. I popped into the shop today, didn't need anything. I took mum shopping. I spent £140. Honestly, you spend money like this, don't you? And it's so affordable to actually write your will, splitting that cost to 20. I bet you spend more on that on coffee in a week.
And that's just the beginning of the offers that we've got for you today. The lasting power of attorney, as we said, you may have heard of the term, but you're not quite sure what it means. We'll explain that as we go through the show. So £349, a suggested retail price there, comes down to £199. However, we've got that extra 10% off, so another £20 comes off the price. It comes down to £179. And with those 4 interest-free payments, just £44.75 on your first of 4 payments there. However, if you go for a will and lasting power of attorney, this is where the real value is, because it's the biggest saving of all. Will and lasting power of attorney should be almost £600.
It is, and then we always have a saving with Shop on TV. So £269 is your regular price, but you have got that extra 10% off, and that goes down to £242. As long as you actually secure these prices before the close of business on Friday, you can split that cost to 4 payments. £60.50 is your first of those 4 payments. But remember, if you do discuss and speak to anybody today and you say, I want to do the will, and then as you watch the show think, why didn't I do will and lasting power of attorney? They will secure all these prices as long as you get in touch with us before close of business on Friday. I would do it right now so you don't forget. Another reason to do it right now is the first 250 people will get this fabulous book, and it always goes and then everybody wants to try and buy it. This book, I think everybody, as soon as you start work, you should have a book like this and write everything down.
Well, yeah, it's called What My Family Should Know, so when you do pass, everything's in one place. They're not having to search all around the home to find everything and not find things at some
it's all that vital information that they're going to need. It's all in this book. It reminds me of all the things you should write down, the things they're going to need.
It's all of the obvious things to begin with, isn't it? Things like pensions, life insurance policies, bank account details, but then it's all things like your digital accounts and your passwords for things like your phone.
Well, normally you're hunting for letters, aren't you? You're looking for, my mum's got secret boxes everywhere, and you're looking through all these boxes. But actually, a lot of information is now on your tablet, it's on your phone. So if you haven't got the password to that tablet or phone, you've got no chance of finding it. But it actually might be sentimental photographs that you know are on mum and dad's phone. It means you can get that vital information, or your family can get those really precious pictures as well. So the first 250 people will get that. All you need to do tonight or this morning, however you want to look at it, is get in touch. And you can get in touch so easily, either via Simpler Law's website.
Yeah, you're going directly to Simpler Law, so you can see simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. The thing to point out is that you don't need anything with you. This is just taking that first step. It's securing the offers. It's getting that book included. You can also phone. The team are in the call centre right through until the end of the show. 0333 600 2600 is the number. If you are watching on our +1 channel and there's no one in the call centre, you can just go through the website, as you can see there, or you can text.
Now, this is one of the easiest and I think the best ways. Your phone is right there in your hand, isn't it? Or it's right by you on the sofa. We don't go far without our phone. All you need to do is text the word will to 66777. It's done. You've secured all those prices. You've made sure you're one of the first ones to get that fabulous book as well. And all you did was text the word will. Then you can go to bed, go to work, whatever you're doing right now, and the team will get back with you later on today or in the next couple of days to make sure they can find a date that's right for you to sit down and discuss everything. So even if you're going away for 2 weeks, you know, the day after tomorrow, text that word will, and they will make sure they can sort out a date that is right for you.
It's
to
all
get back in
around you.
contact.
That's the other great thing, and they are experts in the field.
And they make it so easy. I think we think these things are going to be so complicated, and Simpler Law make it so simple. And if you're used to going through our website, you can get in contact via our website as well, shopontv.co.uk.
Yeah, when you go to the homepage, just scroll down to our on-screen partners. As you scroll down the website, you'll see all the different products that we do. But when you come to our on-screen partners, just there on the right-hand side, click on Simpler Law, and that'll take you directly through to those exclusive offers that we've got for you.
You've got all the contact details there, but the easy thing is, there's a really simple form. I can even pass this test. Fill in that form, click on submit, and that again has secured those prices. That's all you need to do right now. You need to write a will. Honestly, you will be devastated if you pass and you're looking down and the whole family are falling out because you didn't legally write down what you wanted to. They know what you want. They you wanted to happen, but then the government will falls in place and it all goes horribly wrong. So do please stay with us and discover why it is so important.
And like we said, we're not alone. Joining us from Simpler Law to talk you through everything are Ian and Emma. Lovely to see you both again.
Hello.
Good.
Great
Good
to have
morning.
you company.
Morning.
Always great to have you with us. And just to understand why it's so important, Ian, to write a will, because we had no idea. And obviously, we've been together, as you know now, 34 years.
Well done for working that out, by the way.
It took us a long time.
Yeah.
Was it 34? Was it 33?
Took us a couple of years.
But because we're not married, and we didn't realise that if one of us passed, obviously all my family knows all mine is Sean's, and all Sean's family knows all Sean's is mine. But actually,
If it's not written down.
if we didn't have a will written, that wouldn't happen, would it?
That's right. There's a lot of information about lots of different things out there that we can get our hands on now, but very little about specifically what happens if you pass away without a will. You can Google all kinds of things now, can't you? Go on the internet, find all kinds of information and then get confused by it, which is why we've tried to make it as easy as possible for everyone to make a will. But if you don't make a will, you die without a will, and you're basically said to have died intestate, and then this set of rules that you've already mentioned called the rules of intestacy kicks in. And most people won't know about that, because why would you? I don't know what's the best thing to use to fill a tooth as a dentist, because I'm not a dentist. So we're all ignorant at things that we don't know. So we can't expect everyone to understand, exactly what happens. And it's not the sort of thing that you wake up on a Saturday morning and go, do you know what? I'm going to look up what happens if I pass away without a will. And sadly, what happens then is if someone does pass away without a will, only then do the problems come to light, like unmarried couples having absolutely no right over each other's estate, which blows people's minds, because we still hear today, don't we, that people say, yeah, but I think we're common law husband and wife.
We did.
It's that
And because we've
assumption,
been
isn't
together
it?
so many years, we've been together more years than perhaps some people that have been married, but actually it's still not right, the government will, for someone that's married.
The law is the law. There's a legal process that you follow, and one of the first questions that's asked of someone that's passed away is very simple. It's all about the marital status. Were they married or were they in a civil partnership? You can see it on the screen there. And that's a very simple yes or no question, and there's no grey areas. It's not like, well, did they love each other? Were they cohabitees? How long did they live together for?
And then nowadays it gets more complicated because you have children often from different partners, so you can be a blended family, and you all see yourself as brothers and sisters, even though you're stepbrothers and sisters, but the whole family's been living together forever. But then that can be super complicated if there's not a will written, isn't it?
We're not shocked today in 2025 if we speak to a couple and they say they're on the second marriage or even the third marriage.
Of course, yeah.
And we're not shocked if they say that they've got children from previous relationships, maybe a child together. What shocks them, unfortunately, is when one of them passes away and it doesn't quite go the way that they would expect it to. Certainly when they both pass away, because what the rules of intestacy do, again, is follow that person's bloodline. So forgive the finger puppets very quickly, but if Mr. and Mrs. are on their second relationship and they've both had children from previous relationship, if Mr. dies first, and let's say the rules of intestacy leaves it all to his wife, you might think, well, that's okay. But then when his wife passes away, on second death, it all goes to her children only. to the
Not
exclusion
right,
of his.
yeah.
And again, everyone goes, well, that can't be right because that's not what they wanted. And that's why we do these shows. We're not doing this to say you don't know, but at the same time, we are sort of saying...
Yeah, well, we didn't know. We didn't have a clue.
because you can't. And if you start listening to me now, sadly, you then can't say that you can no longer say, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. Because I promise you, making a will is one of the most selfless things you can do. It's absolutely selfless. You will definitely get something out of it, but you will do something amazing for your family, and you won't really know just how amazing it is. Because actually removing all that doubt, all that ambiguity, taking control and saying, look, this is what I want to happen.
Everything's there, isn't it?
It's so selfless, it's so powerful, and it's so inexpensive as well.
It must cause so much family upset if a family does know what they wanted to happen. You know, you've discussed it with the family and then you haven't done it legally. So then the government will falls into place and then all of a sudden everything's going to the wrong people and it must
Well, it's
upset
not your wishes, is
or
it?
like we say, if it's brothers and stepsisters and stepbrothers, all of a sudden half the family's got the money and half the family it must really cause a lot of upset.
It's well documented, sadly, that it's the biggest reason for a breakdown in family relationships is a bereavement, and especially where a bereavement has been without a will, because then everyone's got their own opinion. Without casting aspersions on anyone's family, if you throw grief and money into the mix, that's very, very explosive. And that's what can happen. And people say things that they don't mean to say because obviously emotions are high. And that, again, is why making a will is so selfless, because instead of having people arguing over, you know, what song you'd want played at your funeral, whether you'd want a cremation or a burial, how you actually wanted your estate distributed, even down to things like, well, no, Dad promised me the watch, or Mum promised me the wedding ring.
With a will, you can do so much,
all
can't
of that with a will and remove all of that doubt. And it's basically, this is your last gift to your family, saying, that's what I want to happen.
Yeah.
And any ambiguity or doubt goes away. Really selfish, it's about taking control. If you don't do that, please don't trust that you think it's going to be okay. Ask yourself why you think it's going to be okay. Who told you that it's going to be okay? Because sadly, it never is, because the rules of intestacy is just a default position.
And when we talk about wills, Emma, I think a lot of people just think, oh, it's just about money. But with a will, you can do so many different things, can't you?
Oh, God, yeah. So with a will, you can choose what gifts, you know, you can't do that.
Could be an heirloom, couldn't it?
Could be an heirloom.
Yeah, because sometimes you think I haven't got anything, but you might have a family heirloom. It might be actually your pets that you want to.
Absolutely. People forget about the pets, you know, and if we didn't have something in place, what's going to happen to them?
you? Yeah.
You know, they could end up going to a shelter, unfortunately. That's a sad thing.
So it's all those real specifics that you can put in a will. Even things like, it's so personal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Choosing executors. Now, you can see, we're going to put on screen some of the things that you can do. Choosing executors, just explain what that means if people don't know at home.
An executor is somebody that would distribute your will after your death. So it's somebody that you trust that's going to have to do that for you. And that could be anyone. It could be a friend or a family. So that is a really important, you know, position to be put in as well.
And something, Ian, that I hadn't thought about is guardians of your children.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
That's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone assumes that with a will, like you said, that it's money, that it's something tangible. But as a parent, you have something called parental responsibility. You can actually pass that through your will as well. So you can leave a guardianship clause. Most parents of children under 18 will have an idea of, whilst they don't want to think about it, they'd have an idea of, if God forbid we weren't here, who would we want our children brought up by? Sometimes it's their own parents, sometimes it's close family members. Again, you can nominate that, you can pass your guardianship, well, you can pass your parental responsibility through a guardianship clause in your will.
Something else we hadn't thought about is the age of children inheriting.
Massive,
what age would you automatically inherit?
18 under the rules of intestacy, so...
That's so young, isn't it?
Can be. I mean, I was a very sensible 18-year-old.
Oh, you weren't. We've
I
seen
can imagine.
photos. We saw your hair.
Just your haircut.
all that told you is I either didn't have a mirror or no friends to let me walk around with that hair. But
You're so young. You changed so much from
Yeah,
18 to 20 to 21 to 30.
Well, we know, it's not even anecdotal, we know for a fact where we're speaking to our clients and they have minor children, very, very few of them are actually, like, let them inherit 18, they're actually quite relieved that they can say, well, 21, 23, in some cases 25. Sometimes they stagger their inheritance. Well, give them a percentage at 18, give them another percentage when they're 20.
Right,
and again,
it all.
it's personal. You can't do any of this with the rules of intestacy. If you pass away, basically, the second you pass away, your children have got a vested interest, whether it's the right time for them or not. And that's how money can get lost and squandered and misused again. So again, it's a selfless thing you're doing, but think about everything you've got. Probably no one's given you that. You've probably worked really hard for it. So if you work really hard for it, it's probably really important to you that it goes to where you want it to go, and you want to make sure that it goes to nobody else. That's why you make a will, because you remove all the chance, you remove all the ifs, buts and maybes, and say, no, I'm going to take control. I'm certainly not leaving it to a set of government rules that's 100 years old. It's going to be my will for my estate and for my family. If you're thinking about doing it, stop thinking about doing it, just do it, because this is one thing you never regret.
I think it's just that first step, isn't it? I think so many of us just put it off because, well, we don't get round to it. I think it's the main
We
thing.
put everything off, don't we? There's always tomorrow. It's always tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. All of a sudden, Christmas will be here. It'll be the new year. Then it's spring. Then you're thinking about summer holidays, and you still haven't. And one day, it is just going to be too late.
And it's that first step. Yeah. That's all you've got to do.
Once you've done that, that's one of the... We've still not got new carpet on the stairs.
Don't start about the carpet again.
Really?
And the only reason we haven't got new carpet on the stairs is we haven't rung that one person or gone into a shop and said we need new carpet.
Life always gets
on the
in the
stairs.
way.
I love how Ian explains it. Life gets in the way, and it is that,
You're
isn't it?
so busy, but right now, it doesn't matter. Right now, you're sat watching the TV. You've got your phone right there.
Send the text.
Oh, my word, just send that text. All you need to do is send WILL, WILL, to 66777. It is as simple as that. Or you can get in contact via the website or via our website as well. And we will go through all that again. But before we go through that again, we should just mention, I think, lasting power of attorney. Because if you have switched on and you think, well, I want to learn a little bit more about lasting power of attorney. Remember, I think this is something people may have heard of.
I think it's been in the press quite a lot, so you might have read about it in the press, but you might not be quite sure what it means. So,
and realise how important this is as well.
Oh, God, it's truly important. So these are documents that you would put in place just in case. So it's a just-in-case document in case you ever was to lose capacity, maybe due to an illness like dementia, or maybe you have an accident. You know, we never know what's going to happen, do we? And what it means is you are then putting somebody in place that you trust, so an attorney, so you're donating your powers to them to basically step into your shoes so they can be you in the eyes of the institute.
So making your decisions for you.
Yeah, they make your decisions for you. So
dealing with your money and things as well.
Absolutely.
Because I always presume, you presume again, don't you?
Yeah.
You suddenly, you think, well, I look after mum, or, you're married. Of course, I'm his wife, I'm his husband. Of course I can jump into his shoes and go and sort his money out and pay the bills. But actually, there's no way I could go to mum's bank and sort her financials. Sean couldn't go into my bank and sort...
Well, you couldn't do it now. Well, but you've got capacity. So why, when this person's lost capacity,
silly,
and they're vulnerable at that stage, aren't they? You wouldn't be able to do it.
It's an even bigger thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So there are two different types when it comes to lasting power of attorney. We're talking about financial at the moment. So we'll take a look at a list of things that you can then do if you have that lasting power of attorney for property and affairs to begin with.
So property and affairs, you can obviously carry on claiming like your benefits or your pensions. You can open and close. So anything to do with your bank account, you can do. Anything to do with your property. So if you're buying or selling or anything like that.
You might need to sell the property for a care home or something, which would be out of your hands, wouldn't it, completely?
Yeah, it would be. And then obviously all your household bills, your utility bills, dealing with things like that.
And at the bottom there, it's exactly what you said at the beginning, Emma. You choose someone you trust to manage your affairs, and in the eyes of the institutions and companies they deal with, they then become you. So that's the most straightforward way to explain it, isn't it? Like you said at the beginning. Very powerful
statement there, which is absolutely true.
Now
we'll change the details on the screen for the lasting power of attorney, because we've got the details of the will just up there. There we go.
And you can do them separately. You can do them together as well. We actually met Simpler Law through myself doing the lasting power of attorney for my mum. And honestly, all you do is... We were both terrified. We're like, oh, this is going to be horrendous. We're not going to know the answer to any of the questions.
It's going to be like a quiz.
It's honestly so simple. You sit down and chat with this fabulous team. You'll have one lady or gentleman that will sit, one person that will be your person that will deal with everything. And they know what they need to get out of you. So it's a sit down, they ask the questions, and you actually do know the answers. But when we came for the financial side of things and then didn't realise that there was a second lasting power of attorney. Yeah. And when you explained the health and welfare, I was very much like, oh gosh, Mum, this is just as important as the money side things to me.
Yeah. So this one's a really emotional one, really. This is to basically, if you were to lose capacity, it's if you had to go into a care home or you needed care in general, it's going to be there so you can help, you can choose, you know, where you're going to go.
So you might want them in a care home close to you, where they could end up anywhere.
They could end up miles away.
Yeah.
You know, it's a daily routines, for example, you know, what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat.
It's all those really personal things, isn't it?
Meditation and how you're going to be treated. Can you go on holiday? Can you go on trips out?
Yeah.
So if you don't have this document in place, unfortunately, you're probably not.
That's out of your hands, isn't it?
You may not be able to do it.
And what does happen, because, you know, with the will, there is a government will. Yeah. But if you haven't got lasting power of attorney, and this was actually in the news just recently, and even though we do these shows, I was blown away that a lady, her husband had got a really bad brain problem, and when he went into hospital they weren't going to let him out back to his home
for her to look after
she
him.
Didn't have lasting power of attorney, so they weren't sure whether he would want to go home to her. So what would happen if you haven't got lasting power of attorney?
You only have an alternative. I want to say you, not the person that's incapacitated, obviously, but your loved ones, someone close to you, someone that's actually going to step forward and say, well, I want to take control and I want to help this person. And that is, you have to apply for something called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. Now, this is a really long bureaucratic process. It's incredibly expensive. It's £1,100 just in application fees and court fees to get the ball rolling if you do it yourself.
We can see some of the fees here, and that's, you know, there's lots of different ones, isn't there?
Yeah, and basically because you're trying to get control over someone that's vulnerable, the Court of Protection are there to make sure that you are the right person for that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess anybody could come forward. It might be a sister you've fallen out with, or
So you have to jump through all these hoops at a time when really what you want to be doing is spending time caring for your loved one. So the costs are extortionate anyway. They can triple if you use a professional, which a lot of people have to do because you're dealing with courts and you're dealing with paperwork. But worse than that is it can take up to a year for the actual application to be heard and granted. Gosh. In which time you've wasted a year, you're struggling trying to manage your affairs both personally and financially, and it can all be avoided with lasting power of attorney.
And you might have even lost that loved one before you even found, you know.
Sadly, that does happen, and that can be even more heartbreaking. I think the thing with the lasting power of attorney is when you talk about managing bank accounts and when you talk about the personal side, about what you wear, what you eat, all these things sound quite trivial. They sound quite trivial because we take for granted doing that every day. We wake up, we throw the quilt cover back, we have a shower and we get on with our day. Yeah. You know, whilst you don't want to think about it, if you go to a dark place for 30 seconds and think, right, you didn't throw the quilt cover back this morning, who's going to step in and do everything that you do? And that's not automatic and that's not easy. And so what a lasting power of attorney does, it just fills that gap. They are, as Emma said, a what-if document. They're not an insurance policy that they can thought about like one. What if life did throw me that curveball? Well, if you've got a properly signed, dated and witnessed lasting power of attorney ready to be registered with the Office of Public Guardian, you've done something amazing for your loved ones, because that means that you've chosen someone that you trust to step into your shoes and just carry on where you, if you like, left off. Without that, the alternative is horrible at what is already a horrible
time. That whole process you've got to go through. And you might run out of time, like you say.
Yeah. And I really do think it's just as important as a will. And remember, price-wise, all you're doing right now is securing the prices. So whether you want to go and secure the price for the will, whether you want to do lasting power of attorney, or whether actually as you watch the show you decide I wish I'd said I'd do both. As long as you get in contact tonight, this morning, before the close of business on Friday, do it now because otherwise you'll forget. You're securing all of these prices. When you talk to the team, you can decide. So if you want to go just for the will, you can see the regular price, £249. Our price when we do the shows is normally £99. It's such incredible value for money, but actually even better right now, but only till the close of business on Friday. You've got an extra 10% off, so £89 is your price for writing a legally binding will, and that's 4 payments of £22.25, which is probably less than you spend on cups of coffee monthly each week. But lasting power of attorney, which we were just chatting about, is right there for you as well.
Yeah, suggested retail price there, you can see £349. Well, the offer price at £199 is brilliant. However, with that extra 10% off, it comes down to £179. And then with those 4 interest-free payments, £44.75 on your first of 4 payments there, if you want to spread the cost. However, the biggest saving is if you go for the combination, the will and lasting power of attorney. That should be almost £600.
Yeah, but you can see our regular price, £269, but again, another 10% off if you order or choose to secure these prices right now. You'll get this at £242, so a huge saving of £329, and that's giving you the will and lasting power of attorney, and then you can still split that cost, so £60 and 50p, and you've got that peace of mind. It's all done, and it is peace of mind. What you're doing really is giving that last gift to your family, to your loved ones. So whether you're doing the will or the lasting power of attorney, you're just going to make things that little bit easier in a time when things are so upsetting. Yeah. But another reason to do it right now is we do tend to put things off. We do tend to forget. We do it often. You think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you've missed out on the deal. And then all of a sudden, it's Christmas, it's New Year, and it's next year, it's summer. Still, and one day it's just going to be terrible. It's going to be too late. But another reason to do it right now is that you'll also secure yourself this great book. And Ian, this book was born from Simpler Law, really.
It came out of our estate administration department, truthfully. So we also act as professional executors. So when you choose your own executor, you can choose lay people, you can choose a professional, you can choose a combination of both. And one thing that always comes out of administering someone's will in the estate is you have to gather in all their assets, you have to find out if there are any debts on the estate. And gathering in the assets is the most difficult thing. What did that person have? Yeah. Did they have pensions? Did they have bank accounts? Did they have life insurance policies? And doing a load of research and helping put this book together, it was discovered that there's £5 billion of unclaimed pension pots in the UK.
Wow.
£5 billion.
They've just not been found.
Gosh.
So if you think about it, it's like, do you know how many jobs your parents had?
Do
you know, were they paying into pensions at those jobs?
Sort of 17,
there might be some frozen pensions that should be claimed, things like that. They think there's £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies. So again, that should be money that's gone to loved ones that's just never been claimed. And likewise, about £850 million just sat in UK bank accounts. So I know it's madness, isn't it?
Crazy.
And funnily enough, these institutions aren't falling over themselves to try and track it.
No, I bet they're not.
I'm sure this client is still alive at 176.
Let's find them.
But in all seriousness, what this book did and what the reason that we created it, it's been received really well, is it's just, again, another selfless act. You can sit down, and it's quite cathartic for you as well, and just document what you've got. But we also heard stories about, and you've mentioned this already, but people, our lives now are on our phones and on tablets and things like that. And if you've not got access to that, if you don't, you can't pass on your facial recognition, so you've got to pass on a passcode or a password, etc. And that can be really vital to access, personal detail, even things like photographs, because they're all digital now. I'm still from an age where I remember the sticky album, the sort of slightly yellowing photos and, Whitby 1976 on the back. We don't have that now. All our memories tend to be digital. And if you don't document that somewhere, sadly, they can be lost.
And you can't get that information.
Even the FBI can't crack these forms, can they? So,
a family member, actually, a gentleman died and was really completely not expected at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And they really needed to get onto his tablet for all those reasons. They needed vital information, and they wanted the photographs and things. And they couldn't do it. It only happened that they were chatting and the grandson walked past. And he sort of overheard something about the password, and he went, "Oh, I know Grandad's password." And thank goodness, otherwise they would have lost. They wouldn't have got any of that information.
Well, all the information
impossible
and the
to get that.
memories.
He'd been playing Angry Birds on those.
That's
exactly it.
Yeah,
So
fortunate.
the first 250 people will get that book, and in there you'll have your life policies, your bank account details, all your passwords for your phone, your tablet, your computer.
From working life, you should have a book like that and write everything down. Because again, at a time when everyone's so upset, then they're trying to find all this vital information, and it's all right in there. And it's quite nice to sit down and write it or down. Go back through all those jobs that you had, and is there a pension there, honestly? And that's the first 250 people. They always go, so another reason to get in touch right now. And it's so easy as well to get in touch, whether you want to get in touch via the website, whether you want to use the phones, whether you want to use your mobile, whether you want to speak to someone or whether you don't want to speak to someone.
And the website's the easiest way. You're going directly to Simpler Law, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. That'll take you straight through to those exclusive offers that we've got for you with that extra 10% discount, but only until the close of business on Friday, remember. Then you can call the call centre if you wish. If you want to speak to one of the team, you don't need any documents, any information with you. And the team are there right through to the end of the show. 0333 600 2600. If you're watching on our +1 channels and the call centre's closed, you can go to the website or you can text.
Yeah, this is the easiest and always the most popular. I love the competitions where you just text a word on forever. This week, why am I winning 600,000 this week? But it's so easy to do, and you'll always win with this because what you've done is secured all those prices by just texting the word will. 66777. It is as simple as that. You haven't had to speak to anybody, but you've secured every price that we've shown you tonight. And then the team will get back to you later on today or in the next couple of days to make sure they can sort out a date that's right for you to sit down and discuss things. So even if you are thinking, oh, we go away on holiday in a couple of days, still get in touch right now because you've got that extra 10% off. They will get back in touch and sort a day, even if it's in the next 3 weeks or the next month, to sit down and sort that will or that lasting power of attorney out, because they will secure all of those prices if you just get in touch in some way.
The other thing, if you want to go straight through our website, if you're used to shopping with us here at Shop on TV, go to the website, shopontv.co.uk, scroll down until you come to our on-screen partners. You go past all the products that we've got there for you, and then go to the right-hand side. You see there's Simpler Law, the logo. Click on there, and it'll take you directly through to all those exclusive discounted offers that we've got for you. Just fill in that form. It's really simple, really straightforward. And as Hayley always says, if you want to go for the will initially and then you change your mind and you want to add in lasting power of attorney, you've locked in the offers and you've locked in the deal, so they'll still honour those prices.
I think you'll be like us. You'll sit down and you'll think, oh gosh, yeah, we haven't done a will. And what do you mean there's a government will if I haven't written a legally binding will? The government say what happens to what I've worked so hard for, and they do, and it won't be what you want to happen at all. It's 100 years old, that government will. So perhaps you're thinking, yeah, I'll get the will sorted, but as you watch the show, you'll think, oh, lasting power of attorney is really important as well. Whatever you decide, as long as you get in contact right now, you will secure those prices, and then you can decide which option to go for. But we're going to go back to our wills, because I think this is so important for everybody.
It is important for everyone because everyone's going to use a will. That's the thing to say. And it is everyone, isn't it, Emma?
Oh God, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll wait until I'm married or until I'm over 50 or something like that, you know. But it's for everybody, isn't it?
For everyone, absolutely.
And when it's so affordable, like it is with these prices that we've got, there's no reason not to take that first step, is there?
No, and all they need to do is just,
get in contact.
That's the hardest thing, I think.
Yeah.
I think that is the hardest thing. People, like I say, it's always, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, but
we're good at putting things off, aren't we? Yeah, do it now, and
definitely.
you've secured the prices, and you know you will get that will done, which is so important. And it's really important, Ian, and I was really blown away. You've got a lot of stories, because obviously you've dealt with so many people's different situations. No will ever be too complicated for these guys, because they have dealt with all and everything. But there was a story about a gentleman, quite a young man, a single man, and I think this is because if you've got a family, you'll think, oh gosh, yeah, I must write a will, or if you've got a partner, I must write a will. But this gentleman didn't have a partner, he didn't have children, and he didn't write a will. But I truly think what happened to his estate wasn't what he would have wanted to happen for any moment.
We'll never know why he didn't, but any logical, sound person would imagine that he wouldn't have wanted the outcome to be the outcome. So the backstory was, and the reason it stuck with me is it was sort of told by his surviving mum and his brother, but this poor chap passed away unexpectedly, suddenly. I think he was only in his 40s. He was a successful medical professional. He'd never married, he'd never had children, and he passed away without a will, which meant he died intestate. So along comes the government will. The first question they ask of the person that's passed away is, were they married or in a civil partnership? The answer was no. The next question it asked is, do you have children? The answer is no. The next question it asked is, do you have parents? And the answer was yes. Now, that was bad because the backstory was when he was born, his dad walked out on his mum and his family and left.
Right.
So he'd got no relationship with his father at all, but the rules of intestacy led his estate to be shared equally between his mum, who'd raised him. I mean, it's already unthinkable for a parent to lose a child. But then she's got to deal with the fact she's got to track down her ex-husband, who they've not seen for the last 4 or 5 decades, and say, the son that you had nothing to do with has passed away, and by the way, you're entitled to half of his estate. Most people shake their heads and go, well, that's not fair, that's not right.
That's not right, yeah.
And this isn't about right or wrong or what seems fair or what seems moral. This is about a legal process. And again, if you apply a little bit of logic, if we don't make our own will, there has to be a default position, otherwise there would be anarchy.
Because you do think, oh gosh, that's ridiculous, but there has to be something, doesn't there?
Yeah, and honestly, please don't think it's going to be okay. That is a really risky strategy. I know you won't be here to see the carnage potential that you leave behind, and that's why making a will is selfless.
Yeah.
Because you guarantee that what's going to happen, your last gift to your family, your last act on planet Earth, is yours, not a set of rules that doesn't care about you. When you sit down with us and our consultants, our client care team will hold your hand through the whole process. Not patronising, but we'll hold your hand through the whole process. And I promise you, you will find stuff out that you couldn't have possibly known. And at the end of it, every single client says, I'm glad I did that. And I promise you, if you get to the end of it and you're not like that, there's no risk to doing this. We'll give you your money back. That's how confident we are.
Great.
Because it's not our will, it's your will. We ask you all the questions because we have all the questions, but you've got all the answers. And at the end of it, you'll only get a will when you're happy with the instructions you've given us, you're happy with the advice that we've given you. But it's going to be your will. And that's the important thing. Your last gift to your family is your will. It's personal, it's about you, it's about your loved ones. If you don't make a will, I promise you, you die intestate, and then along comes this default position that doesn't care about your family, doesn't care about any wishes, doesn't care about any promises you've made, doesn't care that you might have turned to your eldest son and said, you know what to do, don't you? Because he doesn't have the legal power to do that. You have to follow the rules of intestacy. If it's just to not follow the government rules, that's the big enough reason to make a will. But there's always something that's really important to a client. It might be personal items, it might be the age that children inherit, it might be I really want my eldest son to deal with it, I don't trust anyone else. The only way you can do that is to pick up the phone tonight and say, can you help me write a will? And it's the equivalent of about 70p a day over the payment period.
It's so affordable.
It's cheap as chips.
The biggest thing is you make it so easy. And the team you sit down with, well, you'll have one person that's assigned to you, and they become a friend. And initially, the lady we dealt with, she became a friend, and never once did I think, that question's silly, I shouldn't have asked that. No. Or when we'd come away from the phone call, I thought, well, why didn't I ask that? I could email and ask. So I was never rushed. It was just so easy. And like I was saying, initially, you don't need anything. No. You don't need any documentation. It's just about taking that first step. They know the questions, and you've actually got all the answers. We'll guide you. Yeah. And there's nothing too embarrassing, is there? If there's a family member, perhaps you don't want to have something. Oh, yeah. You're often in that situation, aren't you? Perhaps that there's been a son or a daughter, and there's been a family upset. Yeah. That's fine, isn't it? That is more common than you think. Yeah. And some people, maybe don't want to talk about it, but again, they'll put some pressure on their other children by saying, well, you know what wants to happen, don't give your brother or your stepbrother or whoever that person is, make sure they don't get anything, but they don't have the power to do that unless you make your will and say, I don't want to make any provision for this person. I can't stress this enough. Your will is your will. It's personal to you, to what you've got, and what you want to happen, and your loved ones. The rules of intestacy doesn't care about any of us. There's only 4 of us sat around this table tonight, but we'd all get exactly the same will. Yes. We'd all be asked exactly the same questions of us, even though our situation's different, and not one of them will choose an executor for us. That's left up to chance. Not one of them will care about what age children inherit. There's no guardianship clause. There's no provision for gifts.
There's nothing personal about it. It's literally a default position.
Yes and no answers.
Yes and no answers.
It's that straightforward, isn't it?
And Emma, a lot of people, I think, also think, well, I actually haven't got a great deal.
Yeah.
And I think you don't realise how much you've got, because it is... Most of us have probably got a house, or you've got a car, or you've got personal belongings, and whether that's a ring or you've got pets. A will is so much more than just the money side of things, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's about the emotional side of things as well, really. And just because you haven't got property or anything like that doesn't mean that you can't make a will.
Yeah.
Because you might have something that's really dear to you, whether it be a pet or an item, that you want to go to a particular person or a particular place, then, you know, write a will. Because otherwise, it's not going to go that way.
It's left to chance then,
It's
isn't it?
left to chance. It's left to the government will. And then... But the choices are yours. It's just so,
and even
so
if you've
easy
said to
do.
everybody, I want to leave everything to charity, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, because that's not the way the rule of intestacy works.
Yeah.
And is this, Ian, why sometimes you read a story and someone's died, and then all of a sudden the money and the house and everything, everybody thought it was going to the gentleman next door or something, and it goes to a long lost relative in Australia that person had never met.
We hear it sadly all the time, is, you know, people have promised something or said, oh, of course I'm going to leave you this or I'm going to do this, and they never get round to making a will, and then they pass away, and everyone in that circle is like, OK, so we know that John's getting the house.
And there was a story like this, wasn't there? An old gentleman who his friend had looked after him for years. He wanted to give his house to his neighbour.
And in fairness, he was never bothered about the house, but the guy whose house it was. He wanted it. Look, you've looked after me, we've been friends for decades, I'm leaving you the house. And, you know, this guy's like, well, that's lovely, you know, I'm not expecting that. We're not friends because I want your house, kind of thing. You know, been friends for decades. And everyone knew. And it was like, oh, what's happening with the house? And he's selling it. And this guy'd say, it's not coming to me. He didn't make a will. It's actually going to a second cousin, sort of twice removed, who now lived in Canada. And that's the power of a will. You either pass away with your own will that's valid and in place, and your choices are the last thing that happens to your estate. But if you don't, the government rules are going to come in, not care about anything, because they don't. It's a default position, I said, and just go, right, we've got a series of yes-no questions, like Emma said, and that leads to a conclusion. That conclusion is very unusual for that to be what you would do for yourself.
So it's all about your specific wishes. It's so much, you can do so much more with a will than you would think. It's not just about money, like we've been saying.
And it's also as well, and this is a horrible thing to think about, but if two parents pass, perhaps in a terrible car accident, and you've got little children, you can write into a will who you would want to look after those children. We've seen movies, haven't we, where that situation has come about and everyone's falling out. Both grandparents want to look after the children, the sister wants to look after the children. But actually, as parents, I'm sure you know exactly who you'd like to and who you wouldn't like to look after your kids. And you can sort out the guardianship to your children.
There's so many misconceptions, because, you know, before we did these shows, I thought godparent was where...
And we've got so many godchildren. I thought we were going to have a flat. I was like, we're going to have to look after all these kids. But that's not legally binding at all, being a godparent, is it?
No, it's a religious position. If, as a parent, you'll know if you have to sign anything for the school, the signature asks for parent stroke guardian.
Yes.
That's the legal position. So you are either a parent with parental responsibility, or you've been appointed a guardian, and you can appoint a guardian through your will. So you pass on your parental responsibility. You know, so it might be the favourite set of grandparents. It might not be your parents, because they might be too old to look after the children, you know, full time. So it might be someone, you know, similar to your age.
Might not be a family member at all.
No. Quite often it's, you know, brothers and sisters. Oh, sorry, family member. Quite often it's
friends,
it's close friends. Yeah. It's who you feel comfortable knowing that your children are going to be brought up by.
With your values, the same sort of values.
And again, it's one of these things, it's incredibly selfless, but as a parent, do you want to leave that to chance and just say, I'm sure it'll work itself out? Because what you're then doing is saying, I want the courts now to step in. They've never met me. They've never met my children.
No.
They've never met these people who've come forward to act as guardians. But it's OK, I'm sure they'll make the right decision. I don't understand why you take that risk, especially when you can do a will as inexpensive as we do. Look, we do these shows to reach as many people as we can and to show that it doesn't have to be complicated. It's certainly not morbid, but more importantly, we do these shows so that we make it inexpensive. I like your comparison against coffee. I bought my pretentious coffee this week.
Go on. One coffee, how much?
£6.
Oh, my word.
Did you know,
These
statistically, though, the average person spends £2,000 a year on coffee?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I couldn't pass over £6 for a cup of coffee.
Right, anyway, I've been doing wills for 26 years, but I'm going into another profession. I think coffee beans is the way forward.
Yeah.
But we so easily hand over money like that for a cup of coffee.
We spend money on things that we want to spend money on, or we spend money on things that we have to spend money on. You know, we have to pay the mortgage, we have to pay the rent, we have to pay the bills, and then if we're lucky, we've got money left, and then we spend it on stuff that we want to spend it on. No one's ever woken up and said, I want to spend money on a will. But I promise you, if you make that first step tonight and you get to the end of that consultation, you will not regret making this will. I know it's not sexy. I know there's other things you perhaps think you want to spend your money on, but this will be one of the best things you've ever done, not just for yourself, but I promise you for your loved ones. So if you sat with your phone in your hand now, just text the word will to 66777. We'll call you back tomorrow. Or the team are there now. The team will take your call right now.
Isn't it? It's done, it's dusted. You can just put it.
You would
just carry on.
kick yourself, wouldn't you? And I don't know what happens when we pass, but I like to think, you know, that you watch down on us and you're watching down on your family and they're grieving, so everyone's so upset, but then now they're falling out because
to deal with
you
everything.
didn't write a will. They know what you wanted to happen and it's not happening because the government will's fallen into place. You'd be devastated that you left your family in that situation. This could be the best Christmas present you could give your family. This is your last gift to your loved one, and it's so easy, and you're seeing on the screen, so affordable.
And for
as
you,
well to
that
do.
weight off your shoulders that the team often talk about, once people have done it, they're like, oh, what a relief.
You just don't
and you don't even
realise.
know that that relief is there for you. Such a great price at £89. Remember, the usual suggested retail price, £249 for the will. It's down to £99 on the offer price, but we've got an extra discount for you right now until the close of business on Friday. It's down to £89. And if you split those costs, we talked about £22.25.
That's not many £6 coffees, is it?
No.
Those 4 payments
Ian,
are
no, it's not.
£22.25. No. So it's so affordable to do, and you know that you have made sure what you want to happen with what you've worked so hard for, or what you want to happen to your pets, what you want to happen, you know, to the kids. It's all written in that will for just £89. 4 payments are £22.25. Honestly, please do it, because the government will is not what you want to happen, and it will automatically fall into place if you haven't written a legally binding will. But we are going to go into lasting power of attorney now, and I think though it has been in the news a little bit recently, the only reason we heard of lasting power of attorney is because of us, you know, because of situations.
Family situation. It was my mum initially, wasn't it?
And you realise how important it is actually to do, you know, to write a lasting power of attorney. And actually, I dealt with Simpler Law way before they came and joined us here on Shop on TV to do my mum's lasting power of attorney. And we are the biggest worriers in the world. We were petrified.
Well, because it's
I worry about
legal, isn't it?
everything.
Yeah.
You know, if a police car's behind me, I've done something wrong, and I haven't. But I just find all of that intimidating. Simpler Law made it so easy. The lady we dealt with became a friend. No question was too silly.
It's they call it a hand-holding service, but you're just at ease. Yeah. That's the whole point.
And we didn't need to know anything, because the team know exactly what questions to ask, because we've got the answers and they ask those right questions. But lasting power of attorney is so important.
Yeah, and if you're not quite sure what it is, we'll get Emma to explain if you would, because when it comes to wills, I think everybody knows what a will is, but a lot of people will have heard the term lasting power of attorney, but not be quite sure what it means.
So these are documents just in case you were to lose capacity in some form or another, whether that's accident or obviously, unfortunately, illness, like dementia, and you are classed as a donor on the document, so you choose an attorney, so someone that you trust, that you want to give your powers to, so they technically become you in the eyes of the law.
You can't automatically do that as a husband or a wife, or I look after mum, so I know everybody knows that I love my mum, I look after her. I would sort all of those bills and things out.
Not legally.
But legally, I've got no chance of going into a bank and sorting anything out or talking to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So same with married couples. You would think that you have access to each other's
you're married,
accounts or, you know, decision making, but no, that's not the case.
Not without
Even if you've got a joint
Not at
account,
all.
it's not the case, is it?
The case is that could actually be frozen, even if your name's on that account.
And again,
as
it's
well.
something I think you don't realise.
No, you don't. And people are shocked when they hear about that. So these documents, they basically give you the power to make the decisions for the person that's lost capacity, as they would have done if they hadn't.
Because even if you're poorly, bills still need to be paid, don't they?
Money makes the world go round, doesn't it?
It may be
really?
that you need to sell the house so they can go into a home and things, and that's all completely out of your hands. And when we look at what you can do with a lasting power of attorney for the property and affairs...
Yeah, there are two types. So on the screen now we're talking about the money side of things, property and affairs. These are just some of the things that you can do, aren't they?
Yeah, so some of the things are you can obviously operate any accounts, you can obviously with mortgage, and so buying or selling, like you said, Hayley, you might have to do that. Paying household bills, you know, managing investments, dealing with the HMRC. These are all things
they might be running a company or something, so you need to talk to the HMRC, but they won't want to speak to you because you're not the right person.
Well, it's like when you call any institute, they say, are you the account holder?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you say no, it stops there.
I often ring for mum and I have to let mum speak to them first and say it's okay.
Yeah.
So your mum can give you authority while she's around now and she's got capacity.
Yeah.
So in those little instances she can. But imagine you can't pass the phone to your mum. She can't give you that authority, then you're hamstrung. That's where the lasting power of attorney comes in.
It's all the hurdles they get you to go through, isn't it?
Yeah.
The codes and,
Unlike a will, there's an inevitability, as Sean said, about a will. You know, we've yet to meet an immortal client. So we know that a will, we know that a will is going to be used. You know, assuming it's signed, dated, witnessed correctly, it's going to be used. And we help you do all of that. With a lasting power of attorney, it's a very different document. It's as important, but it's the document that steps in between now and the inevitable. What if life throws you a curveball in that period? So I want to stress they're not insurance policies, but they can be thought of in a similar way. The what if is, if life throws you that curveball, would your family be grateful that you've got a lasting power of attorney in place that chose loved ones to step into your shoes? Because to be honest with you, if you pass away without a will, that makes a bad situation potentially so much worse. If you pass away with a will, it doesn't make the bereavement easier, but it doesn't create any more issues because you did this amazing thing for your family. Likewise, with a lasting power of attorney, it doesn't diminish the fact that someone that you care about has had this horrible thing happen to them, an accident or illness. But what it does do is it doesn't make it worse because now your wife, your husband, your son, your daughter, whoever you chose to step into your shoes can literally do just that. You know, we speak to couples all the time, and it's not unusual for one of the couples, I deal with all the finances.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you imagine if it's that person that's incapacitated, the person that doesn't usually deal with the finances, not only are they like, well, where do I start?
What do I do?
They don't even have the authority to start. So this awful situation just mushrooms into this terrible, terrible situation. So, as I said, it doesn't make the fact that a loved one's ill or, you know, incapacitated any easier, but it definitely doesn't make it worse because this lasting power of attorney, by definition, is such a powerful document that it just means that your loved ones can step into your shoes and get on with it. And if you're the person that is incapacitated, how nice would it be to know that you've done this amazing thing for them and that people that you trust are the people making those decisions for you, both financially and from a well-being point of view.
Yeah, because there are two, aren't there? When we came to you with Mum's lasting power of attorney, we only knew really the financial side of things. But then when we sat down, because it is a sit-down chat, it's so easy. And then you mentioned, well, there is another lasting power of attorney. And Emma, to me, as soon as you explained this one, so it's more for the, looking after
it's
your
personal
loved one.
thing.
It's an emotional one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, this mum is just as important, or actually more important, I think, to me than the actual financial side.
No, I would agree with you. So this one, obviously, you can, if they do need to go into a home or have care in any way, you get to decide where they go.
Yeah, it's all about their health, their welfare.
Could be miles away.
Well, you hear this in the papers, don't you? That someone's got a care home that's 200 miles away.
And what if you didn't drive?
Yeah.
Then how often are you going to be able to see your loved one? It's just quite devastating. But as you said as well, it's down to the care, what they're going to wear, what they're going to eat.
And that sounds trivial. Yeah. But my friend was in a terrible accident, knocked over by a car, and she was poorly for a very, very long time. And what was really important to her when, and she's good now, and still what is really important to her was the fact she was vegetarian. that she liked to wear certain clothes.
Yeah.
And if that had been taken away, it's like my Auntie Cora loved her nails polished. She was devastated if she didn't have nail polish. All those things are so important.
Yeah.
If a loved one's poorly and you go in and the nails aren't done, the hair isn't done, or they're giving, you know, my friend meat, or, you know, she's wearing clothes I know she would never
taken away,
have wanted to wear. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's not them, really, in the end, is it? And like you say, that's not what they would have wanted. You know what they would have wanted, and hence why this document's so important, that you can make sure that continues. Just because they've lost capacity, or, you know, doesn't mean that they don't deserve
They're
how
not
they
going to
used to be
change
treated.
the way they are
absolutely.
they? It's so important. It's such an important document. And we've heard lots of stories when they're not in place, because if lasting power of attorney isn't in place, you then have to face the court of protection.
Yeah, because even again, if you are, you know, you're married, you can't. And I was blown away with, and this you might have heard on the TV. A lady, her husband, they've discovered he'd got a really unusual brain problem, and he went into hospital, and he was then very, very poorly, and they weren't going to let him home because his wife didn't have lasting power of attorney.
Yeah, if he's deemed to have lost capacity and can't make that decision for himself, then your wife or your husband doesn't automatically have a say what happens to you. You're within the care system. That's why these documents are so important. No one ever needs them until they need them. And if you haven't got it in place, then sadly it's too late. You know, we like to think that we can make decisions, and most people are decent people, aren't they? And, you know, it was obviously that wife cared for her husband and she wanted him home. But legally, she didn't have the power to make that decision. And if we, again, just take a step back for a second and look around and think, do we have authority over any of our friends or family? No, not unless it's given to us by that person. I can't just turn around and go, I'm going to access Sean's bank accounts today. There is a rumour that my wife's managed to do that to mine. But, again, in all seriousness, this what-if scenario, if you think about what we spend as normal human beings, what we protect, things that we can see. You know, we'll insure things like our phones, we'll insure boilers, we'll insure our pets, we'll insure these things that we think we care about. You know, we'll insure our car, we'll insure our house, and we forget to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll spend all this money and never ever make a claim on these things. You know, the boiler will never break down. We never claim on the home insurance, and hopefully, touch wood, glass, hopefully you'll never have to use a lasting power of attorney. But I promise you this, your family would be so grateful if life threw you that curveball that you did this, because, as I said, that makes a bad situation no worse.
Yeah.
Without lasting power of attorney, your loved ones then have to go through something called a court of protection, as Sean said, to apply for what's called a deputyship order.
And this is horrendous.
The costs, first of all, the costs are phenomenal. We'll show you how much it'll cost just to get started with the application fee, over £400.
Yeah, and if you contrast that with, obviously it's an exclusive offer through Shop on TV, but you can draft a lasting power of attorney. One lasting power of attorney is £179.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you had a crystal ball and you could see the future and see life throwing you that curveball, you'd be straight on the phone now. And that's part of the problem. We get phone calls at the office that we call the too late phone call. You know, it might be, you did our wills and lasting power of attorney, but my dad's just been diagnosed with dementia. Can you do one for him? And it's like, we could have before he was diagnosed, but not now. And that's when you're left with what you can see on the screen.
Those
is
costs.
that family member then has to approach the court of protection, apply for what's called a deputyship order. You can see the application fee alone is £421. They'll typically assess you, and that costs £100. If they ask for a hearing, that's £259. And that supervision fee, so even if you are granted the deputyship order, they'll charge you that for every year that you are a deputy, so they'll charge you £320. And in some cases, they even put restrictions on what you can spend. So there was one story, there's a lady who's very similar to your story, but her husband was knocked down, he was in a coma, he managed all the finances, he didn't have a lasting power of attorney, his wife then had to go through this long and expensive process of court protection. She finally got given a deputyship order, and she was asked to pay her daughter's tuition fees, and because they were over £500, she wasn't allowed to pay them. She had to apply to the court to ask permission to pay for her own daughter's tuition fees. And again, normal people, decent people are like, why is this so difficult?
Right,
and it's even like that if you've got a joint account, because you think, well, we've got a joint account, so it'll be OK, but it's not, is it?
That can be frozen as well.
Yeah, jointly held assets, and again, it's a legal thing. Jointly held assets, you've both got to have capacity because you own this jointly and severally, and if one of you can't act, then you can't act jointly. So unfortunately, even if you've got a joint account or you've got a jointly held property...
And then on top of all of this, obviously, you are still devastated because your loved one is poorly or been in a terrible accident.
And if you're having to go the court protection route, your energy is going in the wrong direction, and your time and your money, frankly. You know, because you haven't got access to their money, so you've got to find the cost to meet this as well. So again, a lasting power of attorney is a what-if document. It's something you want to have and then hope that you never need to use it. We know a will's inevitable, that's fine, but a lasting power of attorney is just there in the background. Me and my wife have had them in place for nearly 20 years now.
Yeah.
We hope that we never need to use them, but they're there. They're ready to go. And it's your choice. You can register them with the Office of Public Guardian straight away. You can choose to keep them safe at home, secure them with a company like ours. But the important thing is to get them signed, dated and witnessed correctly and have them good to go.
Again, it's not something you can just personally write down on a piece of paper. It has to be legal, and it's important they're signed correctly as well.
Today, lasting powers of attorney came in and overtook something called an enduring power of attorney. They are ancient, but today our company is still registering enduring powers of attorney for our clients that did decades ago.
So they'd put them in place, but hadn't registered.
Put them in place. We're getting a phone call. Have you got a power of attorney for my dad? Yes, we have. Like, oh my God. So he did it 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, it'd be more than 10 years ago because lasting powers of attorney came in about 2014, 2015. But the fact of the matter is these documents have been sat in our storage facility, hoping never to be used, but when they're needed, the relief on the family members is palpable.
And when it comes to registering, is there any costs for...
That depends. The Office of Public Guardian can charge a fee. It's gone up to £92 this month. That's the most that you will pay to register it. In some cases, as a remission, it's half that. And in some cases, it's free to register. But compared to the court protection, that £92
it's nothing,
is neither here nor there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything, Simple Law make everything so easy. And tonight, this morning, making it so affordable. But remember, these extra special deals are only there until close of business on Friday. So we always say get in touch now because you'll forget. Friday will come and go. You'll be into next week and you think, oh, gosh, it's too late now. I've gone back up in price. I'll leave it. And then one day it'll just be too late. So whatever you're looking at, whether it is will, lasting power of attorney or both, take a look at the prices. I think lots of us think it's going to be complicated. It honestly isn't. Simple Law make it so easy. But I think one of the biggest things, a lot of us think it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah, and the discounts, the regular prices that Simple Law
I thought it'd be
great,
thousands.
but the discounted prices are brilliant. So if we talk about the will first of all, and we will go through wills again for you if you've just joined us. If you went for the will normally on the suggested retail price, £249, well, that comes down to less than 100 on the offer price, but with an extra 10% off, £89. And with those 4 interest-free payments, £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments.
And that's nothing,
when you talk about what you spend £22.25
well, we were just talking about coffees, and some people spend £6 on a coffee.
Not often.
Oh, too late.
I say some people. Ian spends £6 on a coffee. But we do, and we don't even think twice about it, and that is your will. Written, legally binding, and the government will not falling into place, which makes things go horribly wrong. If you haven't written a will, there is a will that will fall into place, which is the government will, and it is not what you want. And we will go back into that in a moment. Lasting power of attorney, just been talking about that. £349 is the normal price, which when you look at the comparison of what it would cost, to try and look after somebody when they're poorly. You have got such a great saving, usually at £199, but we've got another 10% off until close of business on Friday. So £179 is your price, and that's 4 payments of £44.75.
And again, when you break down what you'd spend £44.75 on, that could be your takeaway on a Friday night, couldn't it?
Well, I popped into the shop for some shopping. I took mum shopping today. I didn't even
weren't
really
getting anything,
need anything. I spent £140 on things I didn't need. So it's so easy to spend that money, and this is money so well spent. Now, if you're watching, and perhaps you've already been in touch and you said, oh, I want to do the will, and now you've watched and listened to the lasting power of attorney, you think, oh, why didn't I say the will and lasting power of attorney? Because that's a massive saving, and I would like to do my lasting power of attorney as well. As long as you secure the prices right now, before the close of business on Friday, do it now so you don't forget, you will get any... If you decide, well, actually, I want to do both, Simpler Law will allow you to change and say, OK, that's fine, you said will, but you can do lasting power of attorney and we'll do that incredibly discounted price. So it should be $598.
An even bigger discount. So it comes down on the offer price to $269, but with the extra 10% off, you're looking at just £242. And with those 4 interest-free payments, just £60.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments there. Remember, the first 250 clients also will get the book, What My Family Should Know. In there, you've got everything registered. You put everything in one place.
All that vital information that your loved ones, if you pass, will be hunting for. Try and find the secret places, which shoebox
it's all
is
the
it
obvious
in?
things like pensions, life insurance policies, but then it's things like digital accounts, passwords
life's
for your
very
phone.
different now, isn't it? It's not always letters that you're looking for. You might need an email off a tablet and you don't know the passcode to that. Or it might be personal photographs that they took and they're on mum and dad's camera, but again, you can't get onto the phone
That's
to actually...
another reason to do it now, isn't it? The first 250 people will
and
get
they
that.
always go, and you're always devastated you've missed out. So do grab that. Usually about £25, so it's the first 250 people will get that. All you need to do is make sure you register that price and go through with that will.
And it's really simple and easy to get in touch. So you can go directly to Simpler Law, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. That'll take you straight through to those exclusive offers that are discounted only until close of business Friday.
Any information, if you're sat at home thinking, oh, I haven't got any paperwork, right, you don't need any documents, no information, just to know that you want to do your will or lasting power of attorney and just get in touch. So easy on the website, so easy on the phones. The team are there until 3 a.m. So 0333 600 2600 is the phone number. The team are fantastic. If you want to ask a couple of questions, they will, they're there for you to ask. But actually, it's again just saying, I want to secure these prices, and they'll get back in touch later on today or in the next couple of days to see a right time to really sit down and talk to you properly. But one of the easiest ways, perhaps you don't want to speak to anybody right now. Perhaps you've been, just come in from work and you don't want to speak to another soul, or you're about to go to bed, or perhaps you're going out to work and you haven't got time to chat. You've got time to text. This is always really busy.
We've always got our phones with us, haven't we? And if you just text the word will, WILL, to 66777, the team will get back to you. You've secured the offers, you've secured that book that we were talking about, and secured the prices, and you've taken that first step. How many times have you thought about writing a will or getting a lasting power of attorney?
We put everything off, don't we? We're rubbish at putting things off. My mum needed her patio doing for, oh my goodness, I don't know how many years. It was horrendous. It was a trip hazard. And we never got it done. Not because we couldn't afford to have it done. We just never got round to making that phone call to get a quote to get it done. At last, we've had it done. And it was so quick and so easy. The biggest problem was actually taking that first step to do it. And that's you doing that today, either getting onto the website, texting will to 66777. That's that difficult bit done. You're going to get that will sorted. And even if you are off on holiday, perhaps, in a couple of days for 3 weeks, that's fine. Secure the price right now, and Simpler Law will secure that price and speak to you when you're back, when the time is right.
The team will arrange everything around you. It's such a great hand-holding service. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think it's going to be too complicated. No. You can see how affordable it is. And when we read reviews a little bit later, you'll see how everyone's mentioned by name, because once you're assigned someone, either for your will or your lasting power of attorney, the great thing is you stick with that one person.
You do. The lady we did our lasting power of attorney for Mum through Simpler Law before they joined us here on Shop on TV. And she became a friend, really, and no question I felt was too silly. I always come away thinking, why did I ask that? But I didn't feel foolish asking any question. And any time afterwards, I thought, oh, I wish I'd have asked that. Could just email and say, I forgot to ask, is this right? Is that right? They make it all so simple. It is really, truly a hand-holding situation, and that just just gives you that peace of mind that it's all been done legally. And that is really important, Ian, isn't it? And important to do it with an award-winning company like yourself.
Right, yes, which I'm personally 100% responsible for.
It was all about you.
None of the other staff members. It's all down to me.
It's all down to the amazing team you've got, and you did win a
yeah.
fabulous award, didn't you?
Yeah. We were announced as the law firm of the year, which was nice. Yeah, at the British Will and Probate Awards last year. But that was a nice nod to what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the clients are at the heart of what we do. You know, if we don't have clients, we don't have a business. And the client care team are a big part of that as well, because we look after our clients. You said we might look at some reviews later, but you'll see that we understand that when you speak to us, we know that everyone's different. Some people will come to us, bang, 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 they'll know exactly what they want to do, they'll know exactly where they are, and the call will be over in 30 minutes, sometimes less. Some people might need a bit more time, a bit more guidance. Where consultants will panic is when a client says, oh, you'll love me because mine's nice and simple. That ends up being incredibly complicated with nothing we can't deal with. And when someone phones and says, I've been putting this off for ages because I think it's going to be really complicated, they're the ones that typically at the end go, oh, that was more straightforward than I thought it was going to be.
We had friends, didn't we, which we told you about.
Yes.
We had friends, because you end up, we when you sit down with dinner with people, we do preach.
Yeah.
We're like, what do you mean you haven't got a will? You've got to get a will, because we know now that the government will, which we're going to explain, will fall into place if you haven't got a legally binding will. And they hadn't got a will, and they had so much property, and you know, it was really not married.
And they said exactly what you said.
And they said exactly
that.
It's really complicated. You know, it'll be too complicated to sort.
We unpack it all for you. That's our job.
There's going to be nothing you haven't dealt with, really.
No, there isn't. And honestly, this is risk-free for you as a client. If you're watching this now, you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure. If you send that text tonight, 66777, we'll phone you up. We'll make an appointment with you that's convenient to you. We'll send you some information to allow you to think about it. Whether you read that or not is entirely up to you, because the consultants are brilliant. They'll hold your hand through the whole thing. They'll go through a consultation with you. They'll ask you what you want to do. They'll ask you all about you and what you want to achieve. We have all the questions. You've got all the answers.
Yeah.
Once you're happy at the end of that, we then produce the documents for you. We get those to you. We contact you again, make sure you're happy with everything, make sure you understand it. We also help you sign, date and witness it, because that's an important thing. Even in this digital age now, the document's not actually valid till it's got a wet signature on as being witnessed as well. And we'll hold your hand through that whole process. And there's no hidden costs, what we're saying today. And the reason I say it's risk-free is, as you're going through the consultation, if you go, do you know what, I don't like this person, or I don't like this company, or there's something about this doesn't feel right, all you have to do is go, do you know what, I'm not going to do this, can I have my money back please? And we'll say, yes, we'll give you your money back. But we know if you make that all-important first step, you're not going to do that. Because we know at the end of that consultation, every single client says, oh, I'm glad I've got that sorted.
What a relief.
And you will never really fully understand just what an amazing thing you've done for your family.
Yeah.
Because when you do eventually pass, actually having taken a little bit of time out of your day just to do something amazing for your family, as I said, it won't make the bereavement any easier, but it definitely doesn't make it worse, does it?
No.
Because my last gift to you is, this is now what I want to happen. These are my funeral wishes, this is my organ donation wishes, this is where I want my heirlooms to go, this is what I want to happen. And it's all there in black and white, nice and simple. It's an absolutely amazing thing you do for your family, but we can't do it telepathically.
Yeah.
So you have to text us. The client care team are there now. Give them a call, they'll speak to you now. Yeah. Or if you don't want a phone call now, just the easiest thing in the world, 66777, send the word will via text. We'll call you back later today. We'll let you get a kit first and we'll give you a call back. But I say this and it sounds dead cheesy, but it's absolutely true, is no one ever regrets making a will. Promise you, there's nothing to regret about making a will, but your family definitely could regret that you didn't. And that's the big thing, that.
I think a lot of people really don't know this, we didn't, that if you haven't written a legally binding will, you have got a will.
There is something that is in place for you that you probably won't have even heard of. The government will, or the rules of intestacy,
it's
as they call it.
It's not right for anybody.
It's over 100 years old.
Especially this time of, in 2025, it's not right for anybody. We're nearly in 2026. Because this would not be, it's yes and no questions. We fail on the first question, are you married? And we're not.
No.
So that would, even though all my family would know all mine is Sean's, and all Sean's family knows all Sean's is mine, if one of us passed, by law, neither of us, it wouldn't go to our partner.
Yeah.
And we've been together. I've suffered him for 34 years.
Yes, you deserve it.
Absolutely do. Joking aside, but you don't realise, and that's the absolute truth. But it's more complicated than that, Ian, because there is this government will.
Yeah.
So whatever situation, and I don't see that it works for married people with children from different families, single people that have been living together. It doesn't work for anybody, but it automatically will be your will if you haven't legally written one.
It's interesting when we talk about it. You pointed out the first question there, said you and Sean would fail, and it's not really about failing, it's just answering the question.
Yeah.
So are you married in a civil partnership? Your answer would just be no.
Yeah.
And that would set you down a various
So where
path.
would it go then for us?
It would then ask about children, then it would ask about parents, and then it starts going down the list about brothers and sisters. Yeah,
right.
or your own bloodline. But I think the one thing that genuinely shocks unmarried partners is the fact that there isn't this natural provision for each other.
It's that misconception, isn't it?
Even married couples, you're only guaranteed a certain amount. Anything above that, and it starts getting convoluted, and your children get half, and it starts involving chattels, it can get very messy very quickly. So even married couples aren't guaranteed to get everything off each other. And again, that blows people's minds. And I'm saying this live on TV because it's true. You can check this out for yourself. The rules of intestacy have been around since 1925 as a default position for those that pass away without a will. So all the millions of people in the UK that haven't made a will all get exactly the same will. The same questions are asked of everyone regardless of the situation. It's ludicrous, but at the same time it's logical, because if there wasn't this default position, there'd be anarchy.
You think it's crazy, but then when you say that, there's got to be something.
Something's got to be there.
If you think about it, if you just said, well, I've got 3 children, I've told my eldest what I want to happen, and that was legally binding, and the eldest could just do what he wants, that in itself is carnage, so that doesn't happen. So you make your own will, which is what we're encouraging you to do right now. You make your own will, and you pass away with a will, and you've done something amazing for your family. Or you don't make a will and you die intestate, and then literally this default position will just go, right, what are the yes-no answers? Where's this estate going? And doesn't care about you or your family. That's the default legal position.
And that's when you hear these stories and all the money can go to a distant relative that lives in Australia and they never had even met them, because it'll follow those yes or no questions.
Yeah.
But the thing that there's so many stories that blow my mind, but as a married couple, and I think now in this day and age, a lot of people are on a second marriage, they've got children from different partners. That is very complicated with the government will, doesn't it? Because that, again, can tear families apart.
Yeah, I mean, the government will actually isn't complicated, but it does make the situation terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to correct you when I say it's not
No,
complicated.
you're right. No, it's right. It's
literally,
not,
it's a yes or no question.
So it's not complicated.
No, but
it makes life.
Yeah, and we don't think now a blended family is complicated, and we're certainly not freaked out. But I'm sure in 1925 you said, oh yeah, I'm on my 3rd marriage and I've got 12 children to 18 different women, however that works. But today it's not unusual to have a couple that are on the 2nd relationship that might have had children from their previous relationship. That is not unusual at all. In fact, I understand it makes up about half of the UK now is a blended family.
Yeah,
that's not an unusual situation, but the law hasn't caught up, and really it can't, because then it's very bespoke, and that's why you make a will. But forgive the finger puppets, but in that scenario, if you've got a couple that are married and they're on the 2nd relationship, and let's say they've got a daughter each, well, if Mr. passed away first, and let's say his estate was worth £200,000, that means everything's going to pass to his wife, and that seems perfectly normal. That's what he would have wanted to happen. And then when Mrs. passes away, you'd like to think this family, this blended family, the children would inherit equally, because that's what everyone understood they wanted to happen. But actually, when Mrs. passes away without a will, it goes to her children only, her bloodline. It makes no provision for stepchildren. So basically, the first one to die in that scenario has disinherited his children without meaning to, or she's disinherited the children. And again, people might listen to go, I'm sure that's not true. I promise you that's exactly what happens, and it happens every day. And it's all avoidable. It's avoidable with a 15-minute phone call.
So easily, isn't it?
Absolutely. And sometimes we have clients who say, well, even if that did happen, I'm sure my daughter would look after her sister or a stepsister.
Oh, that's
it's such a situation to put them in, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got emotion, you've got money, and sometimes it isn't actually your child that's the problem. It might be your child's partner or husband or wife who's going, why are you giving it to them?
Yeah, other influences.
But what an absolute terrible position to put that person in when it can be fixed.
And especially at that time when you're going through all that.
Emotions are through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely.
It must be a time when, when something like that happens, that a big family fallout, isn't it? I mean, families must...
A bereavement, a family bereavement is the single biggest reason for a breakdown in family relationships, and especially where there's been no will. Because even like today, if we argued about someone's favourite song,
Yes,
like who are alive, you might no, their favourite songs this, no, their favourite songs that. But that person's now passed away, and you're trying to choose the music for a funeral, which might seem really trivial at this point, but your emotions are through the roof, and you've got two family members going, no, Mum would have wanted this, or Mum would have wanted that. Again, the reason that making a will is selfless is you remove that ambiguity, remove that argument. Oh, actually, Mum wanted this playing.
And you had that, didn't you? Didn't you have a client and there was two sons and they were arguing about which song, and then it was actually in the will, and it wasn't
both
either.
of them were wrong.
They were both wrong.
Both of them were wrong, which was kind of nice because then there wasn't a winner neither. We're like, no, you're both wrong.
Because you can, Emma, do so much with a will, can't you? I think lots of us think it's just money, and you think, if I haven't got any money, then I don't need a will. But with a will, you can do so much, can't you? And it's not just about your money.
It's not just about your money. It's about, what specific gifts have you got? It's about your children, guardians for your children. What if you've got pets as well? So things like that. Again, you can choose your own executor. So that's the person that you would like to distribute your will to your beneficiaries. Even things like, funeral wishes.
Yeah.
Organ donation. People forget about that sort of thing as well.
But they're things that are really important to people, aren't they? So if you've got it written down, it just takes the pressure off everyone.
I think we're quite rubbish at talking about
we're a little bit
things like that.
We are a little bit.
I couldn't sit down with my mum and say, "What would you like to play at your funeral?"
I
just couldn't, because I don't even want to think about that.
That's it.
But then if it's written down,
this is a nice little cheat, if you like. It's like I don't have to have that conversation, but I can put down what I want to happen. I think the really important thing, as we saw what was on the screen there, is the thing to pick up from this is you choose your executors, you choose who inherits, you choose what happens to your gift, you choose your funeral directions, you choose your organ donation, you choose at what age your children inherit. This is your will. You make the choices. It's your gift to your family, but it's your will. It's bespoke to you. Every single will we write is unique, clearly, because it's yours. So you make all those choices. If you don't make a will, you choose nothing, and your family have no say in anything. And I promise you that's the truth, and that's why you don't want to pass away intestate. Do something amazing. I know I've got a Christmas tree behind me. It could be an amazing Christmas gift.
And what if anybody at home is thinking, right, OK, well, I do need to write a will, but I've seen you can buy those...
Oh, yeah, the templates. The bait Lucky's face.
And I could do a template, which you still have to pay for. What would you say about that?
Good luck. Sorry. I advocate paying a professional for a professional service if it's value for money. I'm a terrible gardener, so I would rather pay someone to come and cut my grass and do a good job. If I have a problem with my tooth, I'm going to go to a dentist. If I have a problem with my car, I'm going to go to a mechanic.
Of course, yeah.
And if my wife sees me with a paintbrush in my hand, she says, no, pay a professional decorator.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. But we all know what we know, and we're all good at what we're good at. Now, what a template will do is it will certainly guide you. It will ask you really basic questions. It will ask you things like, who you want your executor to be, where you want your estate to go, and it might even ask about funeral. So they're usually very, very basic because they don't know your situation. So the one positive of a template, if you get it right, is it'll remove you from the rules of intestacy. But sadly, that template's not going to give you any advice. So do you know that you're not taking advantage of all the proper tax allowances, if you like?
Right.
Do you understand the difference if you're writing it as a couple between first death and second death?
No, you don't. Of course you don't.
No.
And basically, the difference between using a professional is you're going to be given free advice that you can do with as you please. Using a template, it's going to give you no advice. If we make a mistake, and touch wood we never have, we carry professional indemnity insurance for £5 million, so you and your beneficiaries are protected. If you make a mistake doing your own will, we can't come after you for making that mistake. And sadly, they're renowned for failing because they're not signed, dated and witnessed correctly, or because they've been written incorrectly because they've not used the right terminology. So they're a very, very risky method. So I'm going to be polite, but just, I don't know why you'd waste money on a template. Unless you're a qualified will writer, why would you write your own will? You wouldn't pull your own tooth.
It's what you said at the beginning. It's you're experts in the field. The insurance is there. You know, you've got every faith. Everything's there for you.
We only do this, by the way. Our will and estate planning consultants, by definition, only help our clients put wills, lasting power of attorney and trusts in place. Yeah, that's all we do. So you don't come to us for a divorce, you don't come to us for a boundary dispute, you don't come to us for personal injury claims. We specialise in this area. So you know that you're dealing with someone that does this for a living. We don't dip in and out. This is all we do.
And you were just talking then about first death and second death, and there was a couple, they were grandparents, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they did write their own, And
but it was a template, like you were talking about.
And it's quite complicated how you write things, and they thought they'd written it correctly.
I think it's easy to do it wrong, isn't it, Ian?
And the sad thing is they knew
again, you can
what
only
they wanted.
know what you know. You can only know what you know, and this will made sense even to a layperson. It made sense to us. It definitely made sense. But yeah, they wanted to make some provision for the grandchildren. So ultimately, what this couple wanted to do is they wanted to leave everything to each other. When one of them passed away, sorry, I'm finger puppeting again. I'm going to have to bring some puppets in one day.
We're going to have to get some, yeah.
But, you know, if Mrs. passed first, everything to Mr. If Mr. passed first, everything to Mrs. Makes perfect sense. And then what they wanted to do is give £10,000 to each of their grandchildren after they both passed away, with everything else that was left split equally between their children. That is quite a sensible thing. That makes sense. But because they'd done a template, they'd mirrored each other, so they'd written it identical, but Mr. who'd written the will had put the cash gifts in as what's known as a first death cash gift, so he'd put it in before everything else went to his wife. And he owned the house outright. So when they bought the property, she wasn't on the title, so it was his house entirely. And basically he'd written the will so that when he died, the cash gifts were to go to his grandchildren, not to them first before it went to his wife. So it's a first death gift. So all of a sudden the estate now has to find this money. Now when he did the will, I think he had 3 or 4 grandchildren. It turned out they've now got 8. And forgive me, I think I said it was 10,000. I think it was £20,000 each.
Oh, don't.
So all of a sudden there's now £160,000 according to his will that needs to go to his grandchildren. The only way for that to get to the grandchildren is to sell a house. And that's clearly not what they wanted. So he got very messy very quickly. Whereas if we'd spoken to one of our consultants, probably for a similar price, we'd have been able to advise them correctly on that. The worrying thing is his wife's will mirrored her husband's as well, so the gifts were going to be paid again.
So they'd get it again.
So if she passed away, they were going to be paid again, and that wasn't their intention. So when you write gifts as a couple, you usually ask, when do you want them to be paid? Cash gifts often are after you've both passed away. Specific items are often when you've passed away.
Right.
Like I'm leaving my watch to my eldest son, for example.
Right, yes.
There's no point me leaving that to my wife, Jeannie, waiting for her to die. Do you see what I mean? But if I wanted to leave cash gifts, well, if I passed away yesterday, how do I know that my wife isn't going to need that money? So, but this is all personal. These are all the conversations that we have with you.
And they're all things that you just wouldn't think of. You wouldn't...
No, and
it makes sense when you explain it.
And we make sure that you understand that we don't patronise you, but we'll only move on and we'll only take your instructions if you're 100% happy with the advice that we're giving you and you understand what we're doing.
Great.
And vice versa, and that we understand your instructions. And then at the end of it, the important thing, the whole reason for these shows is you end up with a will that's yours. It's unique to you. You've done something amazing for yourself, but more importantly, you've done something amazing for your family. And that means the rules of intestacy is out. It's amazing. But you have to text us or phone.
Yeah, you have to take that first step, don't you?
You do have to remember that if you haven't written a will, you have got one. And it is the government will. And it will completely fall into place instantly when you pass, if you haven't got a legally binding will written with someone like Simpler Law.
And it is just a case of yes, no questions.
And it's not what you're going to want to happen. You know in your heart what you've worked so hard for, where you want it to go. It might not be family members, it might be to charity, or actually it might be your children you're concerned about, it might be your pets you're concerned about. It's not all about what you own. And sometimes I think you think, well, I haven't got much, but actually you've probably got your house, you've probably got your car. And it's something, it's all things you've worked so hard for. You know who you want to have those things. And perhaps there's people in your family you know you don't want to have things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sadly, that's
quite,
again when
quite
things
normal
go.
as well,
That's
isn't it?
very normal.
I think some people are
It's more
embarrassed
common
of
than you
this,
think.
but it is a very normal
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
It is. We see it a lot, unfortunately.
So if you've fallen out with a family member and you don't want them to inherit, you can write that down.
That's right. You might be estrayed from one of your family members, so yeah, we can easily pop it in there and again.
Those fridge magnets that say friends of family to choose for yourself exist for a reason. You know, and blood isn't always thicker than water, sadly. Yeah, and every now and then a client will be a little bit reticent to tell us that they've, you know, they might find it a source of embarrassment that they haven't got a relationship with the son or the daughter. But you'd be amazed how many times it happens. But also because they haven't, you know, it's not unusual that, well, actually, this son and daughter on this side that I'm still in touch with look after me, you know, still come and see me, you know, I spend all the time with them. So it's natural for them to think, this person's not been in my life for 25 years, that was their choice, not mine, but so therefore I'm not going to make any provision for them. But if you don't make a will, as a class of beneficiary, if you like, your children will inherit in equal shares through the rules of intestacy.
So even if you've told the children you are seeing that you don't want your son or your other daughter to have anything, again, it's out their hands when you pass.
This is why it's so important to make a will, because what you want to happen is going to happen if you make a will. If you don't make a will, the rules of intestacy, all bets are off. You're leaving it to chance. You lose all control of everything you worked hard for. And genuinely, this is a 15-minute, half an hour phone call in the comfort of your own home. And it's certainly not morbid. You'll find it quite cathartic. As I said, most people at the end of the consultation are like, oh, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they have a laugh and they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Because at the end of the day, you're just making plans. You're planning for something inevitable, but hopefully it's decades away.
Yeah.
But because we don't know, we can never know, you've got to do it now. Because
put it in
today's the
place.
only time that we can do something. So if you sat with your phone in your hand now, if you text the word will to 66777, that'll be one of the best things you ever did. Because no one ever regrets making a will. No one does. But sometimes, if you pass away without a will, your family regret, oh, I wish Dad had made it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not what you want to happen.
Well, let's talk about reviews, actually, because there are some amazing reviews when it comes to Simpler Law. We're going to take a look at some and share them with you. And a lot of the time, the team are mentioned in these reviews, so we'll have a little look through for you.
It's very personal, isn't it? And that's what we found when we dealt with Simpler Law before they came with us here on Shop on TV. Really, really personal, and met people that really does, you know, it's made such a difference, and they've become friends, really. My experience from the start to the finish was fantastic. They made me feel at ease with something that isn't easy to do for anyone. Jack is a credit, and again, they mentioned Jack, and this was the guy they dealt with. Jack is a credit to the company. He helped me to sort out the problems that I had, and I was happy to answer any questions that I had. And that's the thing, no question is still silly. If you're thinking, I wonder, if you've got a question, just ask. And there's pages of these. Another one here, Lisa, she said, brilliant service from Michael, and again, mentioning Michael at Simpler Law. And it's always that name, that person that you deal with that becomes a friend. Helpful, professional and friendly. Answered all our questions and gave us time to think when we needed it. You're never rushed at any point. We'll all, you know, well all sorted and very easy as well, much easier than we thought it would be. And so thank you to Michael. I will be recommending you to friends. And I think just like we did, we dealt with Simpler Law for lasting power of attorney for my mum, and did recommend to friends, and still do. We sit down to dinner now, and we really do say to people, have you got a will? And they're like, well, no. And we're like, what do you mean you haven't got a will? You've got to get a will. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, and then we're like, well, actually, you have got a will. Because if you haven't got a will, the government will instantly falls into place.
And it's just a series of yes-no questions that just don't work for anyone, as you can see here on your screen. So simply by writing your own will, writing down your wishes, you get exactly what you want to happen. And it is so affordable.
It's so affordable. You know what you've worked so hard for. You know who you want to leave things to. And sadly, these yes-no questions won't work for anybody, whether you're married with children, whether you're married with children from different relationships, whether you're like Sean and myself, and we've been together 34 years. 34 years we've been together. So obviously what's mine is Sean's, what's Sean's is mine. Our family know exactly that. But sadly, that wouldn't happen If one of us passed, I'm not entitled to Sean's money. Sean's not entitled to what I own and to my money. And it's not just money things. I think sometimes you think, oh, I haven't got anything, but you probably own your house, you own your car.
Well, the money's just where it begins, isn't it? Because with a will, you can do so many different things.
Might be a family heirloom. We've got a clock that needs to go through the Green family, and I'm sorry, I'm still a Green. So so it can, that's what's meant to happen. So that can go into the will. It might actually be your children. I think a lot of people don't think about that.
Guardianship of your children.
It's a horrible thing to think about if you were both in an accident.
Yeah,
at the same time.
If you both pass at the same time. The other thing could be
look after your children.
The fact that you want to get specific gifts to certain family members, or specific gifts that you don't want to go to family members as well.
Or perhaps you want your engagement ring to go to one daughter, your wedding ring to go to another, and they know that, but then all of a sudden, none of that will happen unless you've got a legally binding will, because what will fall into place is the government will, and that's when it all goes horribly wrong, really. It can really cause big family upset, and you would kick yourself. I don't know what happens when you pass, but I see white feathers, I see robins. I like to think that I'm being watched over. And you'd be up there thinking, why didn't I spend 20 minutes and write a will whilst you're watching your family fall out because they know what you wanted, but sadly the government will is the complete opposite. It's devastating at a time when they are already devastated, and it's very upsetting, and it could have all been sorted out by just writing a will.
And do it now with those huge savings that Simpler Law are offering us directly. Extra discounts available until close of business on Friday. So whether it's wills, lasting power of attorney, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but you can see here on screen, the family estate will should be a suggested retail price of £249.
You'd think it'd be a lot more than that. I thought it'd be thousands. So at £249, I'd be happy to pay that, to know what you've worked so hard for is, it's going to go to who you want it to go to. But actually, we always do a discount, so £99 is a great deal.
Less than £100 on our regular offer price, but with the extra 10% off that we've got until the close of business Friday, it comes down to £89. And Simpler Law will offer you directly 4 interest-free instalments, just £22.25 on your first of 4 payments there for the family estate and will. It's really simple and easy to get in touch. You can go straight to simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. You can call the number 0333 600 2600, or you can text the word will to 66777. Lasting power of attorney, you just saw there on that page of offers, and we're going to talk you through lasting power of attorney now, because I think a lot of people have heard of lasting power of attorney.
I think some people might not have heard. It has been in the news a little bit recently, so you might have heard about it now. But we only heard about it because of life situations, and often you hear about it in situations where it's just been too late. Lasting power of attorney is so important. We actually met Simpler Law way before they joined us here on Shop on TV, doing my mum's lasting power of attorney. And Emma, you could explain, because I think some people won't have a clue really what it's all about. What is lasting power of attorney?
So it's a document you really kind of need to put in place. It's a what if, we like to call it, the what if document. So if you was to ever, unfortunately be in an accident or become ill, maybe you get dementia and you lose capacity. So you then choose somebody, i.e. your attorney, to be you in the eyes of the institute.
So that could be a family member, it could be a friend.
Absolutely,
it's completely
anyone,
up to you.
It's your choice at the end of the day, and you're donating your powers to them so they can make the decisions that you would have made whilst you had capacity.
It can be any number as well.
So it doesn't have to be just one person?
No. It makes sense to have more than one, just in case. Definitely. As a couple, Jeannie and I, if we're in an accident yesterday and we're both incapacitated, the lasting power of attorney is pretty useless if we're both each other's attorney. We'll talk you through that. But sometimes clients will say to us, well, there's no one else I trust. Well, that's fine. It's still important to give them that power. But as Emma just said, it's all about donating your power to someone that you trust or people that you trust. It's not unusual for it to be husband, wife, partner and adult children. Sometimes it's funny because clients will go, Oh, right. So you've got 3 children. Yeah, don't give it to the 2 boys. They're not nuts. But my daughter switched on. We'll name my daughter. But again, that's personal preference. But the important thing is that you have this document in place. That it's signed, dated, and witnessed correctly. And for want of a better description, is good to go. Because without it, the alternative is pretty dire.
Yeah.
Because though you would think if you were married that obviously you could instantly fall into, looking after the finances, sorting everything out.
Yeah.
Or for me, I look after mum now.
Yeah.
If she couldn't look after herself, I could then sort all monetary things out. But
not,
you actually
not
can't,
without that in
can you?
place.
This assumption is the worst thing because it only falls apart at the point where you actually need to do that.
Yeah, when it's happened.
It's too late,
where you
probably,
phone your bank or you walk into the bank and say, I really don't know what to do. My husband was in a terrible accident yesterday, or he's just been diagnosed with dementia, whatever curveball life's thrown at you. He managed all the money. I need to get some money out to do A, B and C. The first thing they'll ask you is, do you have a power of attorney?
Yeah.
That's the first thing they'll ask. And they'll go, no, but I'm his wife.
Yeah.
And they're like, we understand, they might even be sympathetic, but you have no legal authority over someone else's. Logically, if you went into the bank today, if you walked into your husband's bank without any authority and said, can I have some money out of his account, what would they say?
No, it's so true.
Simple as that.
I'd like to say yes,
And the next day, now you've learnt that your husband's incapacitated, so now they're a vulnerable, protected person.
Yes.
Somehow in our logic, we think, all those barriers will now be removed because they're even more vulnerable, and of course the answer's still no. But it's a really difficult thing. So the only time you can make a lasting power of attorney is when you have capacity and no one else can do it for you, so it has to be you. So Emma's quite right. We call it a what-if document because unlike a will, where we know there's an inevitability to using that, a lasting power of attorney is there if life throws you that curveball. But it's much better to have that document and hope that you never need to use it than not have that document and then, the family needed to use it.
Like you say, it'd be great if you've got a crystal ball and you know what's coming, but we've got no clue what's around the corner, have we?
No,
we don't know.
And I want to be clear that a lasting power of attorney is not an insurance policy, but as human beings, as adults, we tend to insure things. We'll pay for pet insurance, we'll pay for boiler insurance, we'll insure our car, we'll insure our home.
My mum insured her dishwasher, the family dishwasher.
Very bitter.
For years, and then she suddenly mentioned it to me, and she says, "Do you think I should stop insuring?" I was like, "What? Why are you paying that for the dishwasher? It takes you a week to fill it because it's a big family dishwasher, so she fills it up over the week. You use it once a week, and you could have bought about 300 dishwashers for the amount you've paid for the insurance." But we happily do that.
Yeah.
We protect things we can see, we'll insure things like our phones and electrical equipment. And I understand all that. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but we forget to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll happily get pet insurance for our rabbit, but if one of us gets incapacitated, what do we have in place for us?
Yeah,
Nothing.
what happens then? And there are two different types when it comes to lasting power of attorney. So there's property and affairs, and then there's a more personal side, which we'll talk about in a moment. When it comes to property and affairs, these are just some of the things, Emma, that you can do, aren't they?
Yeah, really, really important there. So you can deal with anything to do with the property. So maybe you're buying or you're in the middle of selling a house at the moment. You can pay your household bills, anything to do with the accounts. So open and close, operate, just day-to-day operation of accounts. Deal with the HMRC, you might have your own business.
They're all essential things that when you're incapacitated.
Yeah.
Foolishly, you'll think, I'll be able to sort it out. I'll just explain they're poorly, they've been in an accident, they're going to let me do. And of course they're not.
No.
I can't talk to Mum's bank now. If we phone up about even a phone bill, they've got to speak to Mum first.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're quite shocked about how many institutions we deal with, especially now
Yes.
we're all forced to go sort of paperless, if you like, and digital. But if you think about the last time you moved house, how many institutions did you have to contact? Or, how long did you put the Royal Mail redirect on? And if suddenly you're that person that is incapacitated, who then steps into your shoes to deal with all those people? Because those people still need that interaction. Money still needs to be moved around.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go around.
Life is still going on, isn't it?
And it's not unusual, is it, when we speak to clients that one client is perhaps more dominant in managing finances than the other. And
That's normal, isn't it?
That
in a
is very-
partnership?
yeah,
Different people take on
absolutely,
different
yeah.
jobs in the house.
They do.
Well, I wish someone would tell my wife because I do everything.
I don't
I
believe
bet
that.
she'd have something to
I hope
say
she's
about
watching.
that.
You'll be in trouble.
Do email in.
I am in real. I
Mrs.
am
Ian.
in real trouble with Mrs. Peace at the moment because I did refer to her recently as the food person, and that was the wrong thing to say. But I meant it with affection, and I wasn't isolated. Why are you all looking scared? So if something happens to me, you know who did it. Yeah.
Witnessed here now.
Let me see now.
mistake.
But in all seriousness, yes, I tend to take a lead in my house with regards to the finance. It's not that Jeannie doesn't know how to do all of that.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't there, Jeannie would have to do that because I do it at the moment.
Right, yeah.
But Jeannie couldn't do it if I didn't give her a power of attorney.
No.
And she couldn't do it even if you'd got a joint account because it's a
Correct.
joint account. That really shocked me.
Yeah.
Because a joint account, you both have to be okay
Yeah.
for that joint account to be
Legally,
used.
when you've got a jointly held asset, you both have to have capacity to manage that jointly held asset. And in fact, the British Banking Association recommend that the joint account is frozen if one of the joint account holders has lost capacity because that frees up the other person to act independently, and that's not what a joint account is.
Yeah.
No.
You know, if you think about money in a joint account, you haven't both got access to half of it, you've both got access to all of it.
Yeah.
So if one of you is incapacitated, that joint interaction has stopped. The only way to sort of guarantee, in inverted commas, that your affairs can continue is to put a lasting power of attorney in place and nominate people that you trust to step into your shoes. You know, that list that Emma went through there, you know, that's just a tiny little bit of what we do day in, day out. And we do take these things for granted, you know, because things just tick over, a lot of things are digital now, this, that and the other, but we still need an interaction, they still need our input. And the second that you have to phone that institution and you can't get past data protection, that's when it starts to unravel.
Of course.
So it's really, really important to have this document.
And that's just the start when it comes to lasting power of attorney, because as we said at the beginning, there are two different types. Let's take a look at the second one, the health and welfare.
Health and welfare, yeah, I think this one's just as truly important as the first one. This one's more of the emotional side of things. So this one deals with, you know, if you do need to go into care, is it a care home and where's that care home going to be? Could it be miles away? And day-to-day routines, you know, down to what you wear, what you eat. It could be medication, you know, that you're going to receive. Or can you take your loved one out for, you know, a day trip or on holiday? You might take them out every year on holiday.
Now, you saying that's reminded me of a story. And it was a nurse. And you probably saw it in the newspaper. It was Christmas.
Yeah.
And she actually went to the home, took her mum out of the home to bring her home for Christmas.
Just assume she could do that, yeah.
And
As
she
you
ended
would
up
as a daughter.
Common sense, you would think it was
arrested, didn't she?
Yeah,
or the
because
police came.
It always feels and sounds like an overreaction, but of course, the care home are like, well, where's this patient? Where's this resident? Well, she's gone. Well, does anyone know where she's gone? And they can't find out, so they have to report. They have to report her as missing.
Yeah.
There've been numerous stories over the year that they're easy to find. I mean, one that stayed with me from probably 10, 15 years ago is there was a woman who was diagnosed with dementia. It broke the family's heart to put her into care. The daughter just didn't like the care home that she was in, thought it wasn't great for her mum, was just watching her decline, and did what she thought was right, brought mum home and said, we're going to care for her home, and, you know, even put ramps in at home, put in a wet room downstairs, did it all right, but it turned out had no authority to do so. The care home basically phoned and reported her kidnapped.
No.
But the overreaction from the police is they turned up with a battering ram.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
they're responding to a kidnap, and social services end up getting this poor woman out of the house. There's videos online and throwing a towel over her head as they bundle her into it.
Oh my goodness.
It just a complete mess because everything was just mishandled. But all of that was avoidable if sadly that person had done a lasting power of attorney, but they didn't. Because one of the first powers that health and welfare will give to your attorney is, where do you live? So the daughter could have said, no, I'm speaking on behalf of my mum. She's coming home to live with me. Social services, the care system would have had a duty of care to make sure that was OK. And it was, because that got expedited. It was in the press because of the calamity.
It all went wrong, yeah.
It obviously made headlines. But the reality is all of that was avoided with a 15-minute phone call to someone like us.
Yeah.
And again, it's because you don't realise when you're listening to the stories. You think, you think that should be all right. And there was a big thing on telly just recently. I know I was having a bath, wasn't I, watching it? And you were downstairs. I messaged you, put the telly on. And it was about wills and lasting powers of attorney. And there was a lady and her husband went into hospital. They discovered he'd got this very unusual brain problem. He ended up being really poorly. And she wanted to bring him home to actually look after him. And they actually wouldn't let her bring him home because he was too poorly to say that he wanted to go home for her to look after.
He's lost capacity at that point,
And she had to very much fight to have him home.
It's weird. I understand like the anger and frustration from loved ones going, but I'm their wife, I'm their husband. But legally that's not enough. Perhaps it shouldn't have to be this way, but it is that way, that you have to donate your power to the people that you trust,
so what
even
would she
your
have
husband
had
or
to
wife.
do because she didn't have? So if you haven't got lasting power of attorney, whether it is from when we did mums, we came for the financial and then we did both because I just thought they were both just as important as each other. But what would you have to do if you didn't have lasting power of attorney and you wanted to look after this loved one that was poorly?
Well, that's really difficult because the only alternative route is to go through something called the Court of Protection and request a deputyship order. And honestly, the Court of Protection don't really like the health and welfare cases because they're very subjective. They're very personal, they're very subjective. They don't particularly like dealing with finance, but that's less subjective because it's like, it's like, my name's Ian, I'm the husband of, and I want to manage this account. Whereas health and welfare is a bit more different. But regardless, you have to go down this long, convoluted, bureaucratic legal path of applying for a deputyship order through the Court of Protection.
And that's massively expensive. We can show you just some of the costs here, but this is if you do it yourself, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, you can see there the application fee alone, just to apply, is £421.
And you've got to find this money because you can't use your loved one's money
because it's tied up at the moment.
So you've got to have this money to fight.
And you're assessed to see if you are the right person, so there's an assessment fee that's charged. If they ask for a hearing, there's a hearing fee now of £259, as you can see there. And there's a supervision fee, which is actually an ongoing annual fee. So the court then, if you are granted the deputyship order, then supervise your activity and sometimes put a limit on how much you can spend in any one transaction. So whilst you might have been given the authority to look after your husband, your wife or whoever it may be, you're still supervised because that person's still vulnerable and they want to make sure you're the right person. In some cases, they will ask you to personally put your own money up as a bond to demonstrate that you're doing this for the right reasons.
Gosh, really?
All of this can be circumvented if the person that you love and loves you back creates a lasting power of attorney and says, I want this person to be my attorney. If life throws me a curveball, if I'm incapacitated through illness or accident, I trust this person or I trust these people to step into my shoes and do it for me. That's why it's so important.
So important.
And it can take, I mean, it's not just the cost, it can take so long as well. And this is a time when you're... Up to a year.
Up to a year.
At a time when your loved one is poorly, you want to be by their side looking after them.
Your energy's going in all the wrong direction.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
And there must be you must have seen situations where actually the person has passed before it was actually even sorted out.
Far too often, unfortunately, yeah.
Very sad.
Which is and it's so simple.
It's all avoidable.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you make it so easy. I think perhaps people think it's complicated, but you make it so simple.
The reason we do these shows, any cynic will look at me and go, yeah, you just want to sell as a will or sell as a lasting power of attorney. This is going to sound awful. That makes no difference to us tonight, whether you contact us or not. The difference is for you and your family. This isn't our lasting power of attorney. It's not our will. It's yours. We just facilitate that professionally and make sure that it works and it's right. We haven't worked hard for what you've got. You have. We don't know your children, your family. You love them, they love you. All of this is really selfless and it's such an easy thing to do. And the frustration, and we shouldn't be frustrated because it's not ours, but the frustration is when we hear these stories and we get the too late phone call, we're like, oh, if you'd just phoned us a month ago, this would all have gone away.
Yeah, because once someone is poorly,
it's too late.
You can't say that's what they wanted to happen. There's no chance of...
So honestly, don't let life get in the way. If you sat there now thinking, oh, I might do it, I might not, if you hate what we do when we speak to you, and I promise you won't, but if you did, just say, oh, look, give me my money back. I don't want to do it. So there's no risk to this at all. But if you're sat there thinking, shall I or shan't I, don't sleep on it because tomorrow morning will be a distant memory and life will get in the way. You'll make yourself a coffee and your daily routine will kick in and Maybe you'll get around to it at another point. But this honestly is an amazing thing that you can do. Text that word will now, 66777. You won't regret doing it. The client care team are there now. Speak to someone now if you want.
And the team
but
are
please,
fantastic.
Please don't put it off. And don't wait for the next big event, because the next big event never comes. Do it right now.
And the other great thing is you can't... Well, you talk you through the whole process. When Hayley did it with her mum, there was an issue with the signature, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Because everything has to still have a wet signature, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it has to be signed correctly. Our thing was the neighbour that Mum had known all her life. She was born next door, and she then grew up and had her own family next door. We'd known her for years. What we'd called her all those years was actually her middle name, and we didn't know that. So when she signed the forms and things,
that's not me.
It was printed
all,
one way and signed another way.
Yeah. And you realised, you got in touch with us and said this isn't right, and we would not have had a clue.
The Office of Public Guardian, when a lasting power of attorney is registered, scrutinise it to make sure it's absolutely accurate. It's dated correctly, it's signed, witnessed and dated all in the right order. And we offer a free validation service of both wills and lasting power of attorney. So again, we put our neck on the line and said, this will work. And if we see a discrepancy like that, we fix it for you free of charge, because we know it wasn't your fault. So we just come back and go, right, let's sort that out for you. And that's something, again, that you don't get if you do it yourself, because you wouldn't know to check. How many times have you met people and you've known them as Bob? Oh, is Bob short for Robert? And he goes, no, my name's Michael. And you're like, where's Bob come from? I've just called it once and it's stuck. But obviously when you're signing something, it has to be legally given name.
And it's also simple with Simpler Law. It's also affordable as well. The prices right now, and it is a time-limited offer. This is until close of business on Friday. You have got incredible savings. All you need to do right now is secure those prices, so you can get in contact in so many different ways. But price-wise, I think we instantly think things like this are so expensive. And even at full price, I thought it'd be thousands to write, or lasting power, thousands of pounds to write, sort out a lasting power of attorney. But actually, you can see there, will normally, with Simpler Law, £249. You'd happily pay that to know that what you've worked so hard for and what you know you want to go to certain people in the family or loved ones or charities, whatever you want to happen with what you've worked so hard for will happen if you've got a legally binding will, and you'd pay happily £249. But you've got great prices with us. Always we do a good deal, normally £99, but right now you have got an extra 10% off, so £89 is your price, and then even better than that, you can split that over 4 payments, £22.25. And I want you to think about how quickly we spend £22.25 on perhaps coffee.
Yeah.
4 coffees a month for me, that.
I know, £6 a coffee.
I know, I'm a bit of a pretentious wally. I walk up to the counter and you spend 4 hours explaining.
Oh, the one that builds the queue, aren't you?
Yeah.
There's a big queue
my sister even
you.
knows what temperature she wants it. You're like, oh my word, you should be paying him even more.
She does live in
I do like the comparison. If I bought 1 coffee a week that I like, it's more than the cost of that will per month.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's absolutely.
That's how competitive we've made
the value is spectacular. That's why you should do it right now, because those prices only valid to the close of business on Friday. So that's your will. We've just been talking about lasting powers of attorney, also on a fabulous offer from Simpler Law. And this is what they specialise in. This is what they do. This is why you can have such great faith in the results that you'll get with your wills and your lasting power of attorney. Should be £349 on the suggested retail price, again, which is good for what it is, but under £200 on the offer price, but with the extra 10% discount, £179. And you don't have to pay that right now, £44.75 on your first of 4 interest-free payments for your lasting power of attorney. The biggest value of all, however, is if you go for a combination, and if at any point you change your mind, if you've gone for the will or you've gone for the lasting power of attorney, and then you want to go for both, it's not a problem at all. You'll have those deals secured because you've got in touch and you've secured the offer. So
as soon
if you
as
want
you've
to
secured
change,
the deal, you've secured every price. So if you watch the show and think, oh gosh, well I rang and just asked for a will, when you speak to them, because they'll get back in touch with you later on today in the next couple of days to sort out a day to really sit down and chat, say, oh, I've changed my mind, can I do will and lasting power of attorney? And they'll say, yeah, of course you can. You're secure in any of those prices.
You qualify for any combination.
That's
if you
brilliant.
secure it now, yeah.
No, that's really good to know. You've secured whatever you want to go for by getting in touch, and that's really simple as well. To get in touch, you can go directly to Simpler Law. The team are in the call centre right now, but you can go to the website simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. If you want to call the call centre, you can do that, and the team are there right through to 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600. Now, team there right through till 3 a.m. However, if you are watching on our +1 channels, you can still get in touch by the website, or you can text. Texting is always the most popular. Text the word WILL 66777. So just text the word WILL WILL to 66777, and the team will get back to you not first thing in the morning, later on in the day, and they'll talk you through what you need to do. But you don't need any documents, you don't need to know anything. This is just taking that first step by getting in touch. The other thing you can do is go directly to our website, shopontv.co.uk, and when you go there, just scroll down the website, and there you're going to see our on-screen partners. The on-screen partners there, you can see, go to the right-hand side, you'll see the Simpler Law logo. Click on there, and it takes you through, once again, to those exclusive offers.
And that's great, because it gives you all the options of how to actually get in contact. But actually, this is really easy. This is like the simplest form. I would pass this test. You just need your name, your number, your email. As soon as you press submit, you have secured all those prices. Lots of people do the text. All you need to do is text WILL 66777. That is one of the easiest ways. But whichever option you go for, and do jump on the phones, the team are there right now.
Yeah.
Whichever option you go for, what you've done is you've secured the deal. You don't need any information.
No.
You don't need to start worrying about what you need. You know, what if they ask me something? They're not going to ask you anything apart from your name and when's a good time to actually sit down and chat with you, and they'll get back in contact with you to find it. So if you are going on holiday, perhaps you're going on holiday, look at you, in the next couple of days, and you're going to be away for 2 or 3 weeks, it's fine. Secure the deal. When you speak, say, well, actually, I'm really sorry, but I'm away for the next 2 weeks. And you can sort out a date that's right for you after that.
The team will arrange everything
excuse.
around you.
If you put it off, you're never going to do it. We do that all the time.
It is taking that first step. It's getting that ball
you want
in
it
motion,
done. You know
it?
you've got to.
Yeah.
You know, I really should write a will. You've listened and you think, gosh, we so need lasting power of attorney. But if you don't do it right now, all of a sudden it'll be Christmas, then it'll be New Year, then it'll be spring, then you'll be booking your summer holiday, and all of a sudden, one day it'll just be too late and you still haven't done it.
And it's what Ian said. I love your description. Life gets in the way.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I spend a bit of time in the car driving between home and the office and going seeing consultants and things like that. So it gives you time to think. And in the car, I'm going to do all kinds of amazing things. Yeah. I start doing my things to do list, and then when I get out of my car, my job starts.
It's all gone again.
Yeah, and if I walk home, Jeannie's waiting for me with a list of 27 things to do anyway.
Good woman.
But life does get in the way. You know, this is such an important thing. It's such an important thing. This is genuinely your last act on planet Earth. It's your chance to take control. And every time I speak to someone and they say, what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm a will writer. And they'll say, I've been meaning to write a will. And I'll always joke and say, how long for? And they'll say, oh, yeah, for a while now. And I'm like, what's stopping you? And like, well, I don't know. And quite often you'll get things like, well, it's going to be expensive, or it's going to be difficult, it's going to be complicated.
It's all the things you've addressed.
It's going to be more, but it's like, it doesn't have to be any of that.
Yeah.
And it isn't any of that. It is literally a very, very quick phone call. And it's such an amazing thing that there's no reason not to do it, because honestly, the consequences of not doing it can be quite dire, and in some cases, genuinely catastrophic. And it's all avoidable with a quick phone call or a quick text. So if you're still watching this morning, there's perhaps a reason. Maybe the planets have aligned and it's like, I've been thinking about doing it. Who's this guy with a bushy beard and a big nose telling me to do it? Just send the word will to 66777, and I promise you that you will not regret doing that.
No.
It'll be one of the best texts you've ever sent. We'll call you, we'll get the ball rolling, and at a time to suit you, you will have your last will and testament in place. That means the rules of intestacy are gone, and you've got your bespoke document that's going to look after everything you worked hard for, and it's going to guarantee that it's going to go to where you want it to go to.
And
without that,
that's just switched on, thinking, you know, I think we all think, you know, I've spoken to the kids, I've told the kids. Well, obviously, we've been together 34 years. Obviously, what's mine is Sean's, what's Sean's is mine. You know, you've been married for all these years, or even though your children are from different relationships, you're a big family, so everything is everybody's.
Everyone knows what's supposed to happen.
Everyone would understand that's what you wanted to happen. Sadly, if you haven't written a legally binding will, Ian, you have got a will, haven't you?
Yeah.
So what happens if you haven't written a will and you pass? What then goes on?
There is a default position. So you either pass away with your own will, which is clearly what we're encouraging you to do, or as you've just asked, you passed away and you're said to have died intestate. And what that means is you've died without a valid will. So then something called the rules of intestacy is going to come into place. We nickname it the government will because it's a set of government legislation that was originally established in 1925, so it's a century old now.
Not quite up to date.
Life would have been very different then, but I wouldn't have thought it was even right then.
There's been a couple of amendments to it, only a couple of amendments to it, and it's all about figures. So the actual distribution has changed very little. But if you think about it, in 1925, when these rules were put together, they were designed for people who were married and had 2.4 children, you know, and only married once, and the kids were theirs. It's not unusual today. In fact, about half of the UK population in relationships now is a blended family, and that blended family obviously might mean that they're on a second relationship, even a third relationship. So we're not shocked or horrified if we speak to a couple and we find out that they're on the second marriage and they may have children from previous relationships. That's normal.
And probably live as one big family. They're not in-laws, you know,
they don't even
stepsisters or stepbrothers.
No, and it's not unusual.
And
it's not unusual for this second relationship to be longer than the first relationship.
Yes,
you know, sometimes you get married too young, you have a kid, it doesn't work out, and then actually,
very true.
So they don't even think of their daughter as stepdaughter and daughter, you know. As you said, it's a family unit.
One family,
And that is as it should be. The law, however, looks at it very, very differently, and it's all about your marital status and your bloodline. So it doesn't care that you might be this family unit and been this family unit for 20, 30, 40 years. The rules of intestacy is literally there as a default position to say, right, this person passed away, they didn't have a will, so this is the legal process now for administering that person's estate. And there is no third option, or there's no grey area. You either pass away with your own will or you pass away without one. It's as simple as that. And if you pass away without one, that's when you get the rules of intestacy. And that doesn't care about you or your family. It's literally a default position that says, right, answer a series of yes or no questions, and where those end up is where your estate ends up. So
if you were a couple that have been married, perhaps like you say, married, the second marriage has lasted longer, you've got children from different partners, you're all one big happy family. What would happen if one of you passed if you hadn't written a will and said what you wanted?
So the rules of intestacy says that on first death, spouses, the surviving spouse is guaranteed the first £322,000 of estate. So let's assume that there's a couple that have got an estate worth £200,000, if you like. If Mr. passed away first, everything would go to his wife. When his wife passed away, so on second death, it would only go down to her children only.
So his children wouldn't be entitled to anything because he died first?
The lottery in that scenario is the first parent that dies has disinherited their children.
Their own children, gosh.
And if you ask anyone, is that what you want to happen?
Of course it's not.
They say,
well, you had a friend, didn't you?
Unbelievable. Well, he's not a friend anymore.
He really wouldn't believe, would he, when you were saying what would happen?
If I was winding him up, I spoke to him because you feel a little bit awkward because, you know, at social gatherings and everything else, you know, you don't want to be that preachy man, but when you see a problem, you also can't ignore it.
Yeah, of course.
And it's almost a little bit selfish to get it off your shoulders going, I've told you now.
Yeah.
But it's like, look,
you can't say
I'm like, you guys haven't got a will, have you? And they're like, oh, here we go. I went, look, I'm just saying, you know, you've got kids from different relationships, you know, you're married now. Yeah. I said, if you pass away first, it's going to go to your wife. I said, and when your wife passes away, your kids are getting nothing, it's all going to her children. And he just went, no.
Wouldn't have it.
He went, no, we've discussed it. He said. And we hear this a lot. I'm like, oh, OK. I said, look, discussing it and what... he said, oh, they'll sort it out between themselves. So I'd say, look, that's a really bad position that you're putting them in. I said, you don't even have to use me or us.
Yeah.
I said, but you need to get it sorted. And I said, just have a look at this rules of intestacy, and showed him. And he went, oh, so... And then he went, so if she dies first, it comes to me and all goes to my kids. I went, that's a bit dark. I said, but yes. I said, but neither do you want that to happen. And they went, no. I said, that's why I'm talking to you now.
Yeah.
Now we'll have a pint and you do what you want to. Thankfully, the very next day they said, can we sort that out?
Yeah.
20 minutes later, it's done.
It's simple, isn't it? That's the other thing. I think people think it's going to be really complicated and convoluted.
The flip side of that is when one of them passes away, they won't know there's a problem because it'll go to the surviving spouse.
Yes.
When the surviving spouse passes away on second
only
day,
They still won't know.
that's when the daughter of the first
only
person
then.
that passed away is
With
going to
the
say,
kids.
what do you mean I'm not getting anything? And that's at a really emotional time. That's when it all blows up.
Horrendous.
That problem is being fixed in a 20-minute phone call.
I can remember hearing that on the radio. It was a celebrity. We were driving. It was a lady celebrity, and she was saying exactly that on the radio. They had no idea until both parents passed, and she'd been disinherited. She didn't get anything because she.
There's horror stories everywhere, and we could literally bore the viewers all night with the horror stories. But this is about you. If you're watching this now, this is about how it would impact you. And the one thing to take away from this is if you text or phone tonight, one, you won't regret doing that. You'll have done something amazing. But that genuinely means that you've got rid of the rules of intestacy.
Yeah.
You've taken control, and what you want to happen will happen because you're going to tell us what you want to happen, and we're going to make sure that happens.
And Emma, it's not just the finance. I think when we think about wills, you instantly think about money.
That's what we always picture, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
our estate, so maybe our house. But it can be so much more than just your house and your money, can't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you might have something that's really dear to you, like a specific gift. You might have pets even.
Well, it could be where you want your pet to go and be looked after.
I mean, I know I've said it before, but, you know, there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately can't have children. And we
their
talk
pets
about
become
children
their
and
children.
Pets are
guardians.
their
and
children.
they are their children.
Don't
so-
underestimate the parents who go, we'll give some money to John and Sarah. Now let's talk about the dog. And they spend the next 20 minutes talking about the legacy they're going to leave for the dog, that they don't want them going through the RSPCA rehoming service, and they've got this whole thing
I would
mapped
do
out.
that for my dog.
I rest my case.
Dog. Yeah.
So you could say where you want your dog to go. You could discuss with a
Absolutely.
friend, or and then you could leave money for them to look after the
yes,
dog
you
and
can
things
indeed,
like that.
because obviously, that's a kind thing to do, isn't it? It's
And we went to pets first, but what about children?
I know, sorry, God. But yes, so you can choose guardians for your children, because if we don't have that in place, gosh.
I think this is something we don't think about. It's a horrible thing to think about, isn't it? If
awful
both
thing.
parents died, but if both parents died, what would happen if you hadn't put in the will who you wanted to be the guardian?
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, they could end up in, ward of state, so in the foster system.
But the problem is, if you
You know.
haven't written it down, it could be two sets of grandparents, couldn't
be
it? They
another
both
family
step
upset,
forward and then they argue.
Absolutely.
Emotions high again.
Yeah.
And the grandparents might not necessarily be the automatic choice if they're elderly. Can they look after young children?
Yeah.
Geography plays a part, age plays a part.
Of course.
And most parents, if you push them on it, actually would know where they would want the child. Whilst they don't want to think about it. My wife and I have got guardians in our will, as you would expect. We've got 2 teenage boys. It's an awful thing to think about that you're not going to see them grow up, but actually the nice thing for us, if nice is the right word, is we know that if anything happened to both of us,
That's peace
that the
of
boys
mind,
are going to the right place, to where they're wanted, and to people who are like-minded and of a similar age to us.
I hate to say it is a sensible thing to do, isn't it? It's to take that stress away from
the whole situation.
As a parent, why would you put your children at risk of not going to where you wanted them to go? Yeah.
By putting a simple document in place, even if getting a will is just purely for that reason.
Just that one thing.
Yeah.
Just for that reason. I mean, I've got children, and the thought of them not knowing where they were going to go afterwards, or they were going to go to a stranger that didn't know their likes, their wants,
They're already devastated,
they don't know their
aren't
habits.
they? Their life has been
What a
completely turned
situation.
upside down, and then it's just possibly going to get even worse, if that's possible.
This is why a will is selfless. Honestly, when you go through the process, you'll find it quite cathartic. You may even, believe it or not, have a laugh through the consultation, because it is just about planning for something that hopefully is a long way off. But you'll find it incredibly cathartic. But the reason it's so selfless is you are doing this for the people that you leave behind.
And I think speaking to somebody like yourselves, it's so important to do it legally. But actually, there's lots of things that you probably didn't. Perhaps you were just thinking, oh God, I didn't even think about the kids, or the fact that they would inherit instantly at 18. When you sit down and have this, because you do just sit down and have a conversation. You don't need to know anything. Don't think it's going to be a test. You sit down, you have a chat. The person you deal with becomes a friend. But you know what questions to ask. So even if we came to you and we had children, we hadn't thought about the kids, you would then probably bring it up.
And what about this? And what about that?
Absolutely, yeah. We literally hold your hand all the way through, and it's such a friendly service. And it's just so easy in the comfort of your own home. You don't even have to leave your home to
No,
do
that's
it.
another great point.
Yeah.
You're doing it from home. There's no pressure there. There's no time pressure either, is there?
No.
Once you've secured...
We work at your speed.
Great.
Because, again, this is your document. It's not our will. It's not our lasting power of attorney. It's yours. So we'll go at your pace. And as I said, you know, there are some clients that come fully prepared and know exactly what they want to do, and it's done.
Yes.
And other people are like, oh, I'd not thought of that. Can I? Right.
Yeah.
So
Can I have a think? Can I?
look, the team are really highly trained and they're very experienced, and they know, despite them doing this every single day, they know that for the people that we're speaking to, it might be the first time and possibly the only time that they make a will. And so we understand that. So it's not done in a patronising way. We're not condescending. We just understand that you've never been through this process before, and we don't lose sight of that. You know, because it's very easy when you know something to... My pet hate is when someone asks you a question that they know the answer to, and they go, come on, it's easy. Of course it's easy when you know the answer. It'd be like me turning around to you two now and saying, well, you understand how you qualify for the residence nil rate ban, don't you? Because everyone does. But we'll explain things like that to you.
And that is the thing as well. There's things we would have no idea about, and there's laws and government things that change all the
Terminology
time.
as well.
Legislation's
And
always
we cut through all of that. Honestly, if you don't understand what we're explaining to you, we'll give you a refund. Because our job is to make sure that you are 100% happy with the instructions you've given us and 100% happy with the advice and the explanations we've given to you. If you're not, we'll give you your money back. It's as simple as that. Because whilst I joke about things like the residence nil rate ban, these are important things, because I think it's estimated that the Treasury is going to get somewhere in the region of £9 billion in inheritance tax receipts.
It's frightening.
I'm certainly not going to get political at this time of the morning, but we all know that in 2027 they're going to start including pension pots into inheritance tax calculations. If you've got something, they're coming after it. Well, with the right planning and speaking to the right people, you can make sure that you're maximising all your tax allowances, because a lot of that £9 billion, a lot of it's avoidable. Just with the correct planning in place, because they've not utilised the correct allowances.
And yourself, you just wouldn't know how to do it, would you?
No, look.
And why would you?
No.
No, that's it. No.
I drive a car as most people do. I've got no idea how a combustion engine works.
Can't
Even say it. What's in this? Is this?
That was supposed to be water.
It's got to smell it. But in all seriousness, and I mean today an engine's not an engine, is it? It's like a computer. But I'm like, I think the oil goes there. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
No.
So I take it to a mechanic to deal with that. You go to the professional in the field.
And that's why you should get a legally binding will, and why as well you shouldn't. And templates you have to pay for, but you shouldn't try and write it yourself, because that can go.
Well, it's the things that you can do wrong, isn't it? Because you don't...
There's no advice from a template,
Yeah.
so
No.
unless you know what
So
you're doing...
you're just filling in boxes.
Look, I won't be disingenuous. It'll guide you to put in executors. It'll guide you to put in where you want your estate to go. It'll give you no tax advice. It'll give you no advice about age to inherit. There might be a bit in there about heirlooms. It's certainly, if you're writing it as a couple, won't necessarily know that you're writing it as a couple and explain the difference between first death and second death. Because when you're doing a will together, you don't know which one of you is going to pass away first. So does that make a difference to how we distribute? And we'll explain all of that to you. We've never had a will fail. But if we did, we've got professional indemnity insurance for up to £5 million as well. So our professional, highly experienced consultants are going to give you all their advice, and it's insured. When you buy a template, it's all on you.
Yeah, of course.
So you're not going to get any of that advice.
And you can do it even down to signing it. There's lots of rules, isn't there, that you have to do it just right.
Arguably the worst thing about seeing a failed, and sadly many of them do because they're not signed, dated and witnessed correctly, or they're written incorrectly. The saddest thing about a failed template is that person knew they needed a will,
And they knew
what they wanted,
The intention,
and they kind of
yeah.
documented it, but they didn't get it right, and therefore it's failed, and so it still reverts to the rules of intestacy. That's almost worse than knowing that they didn't want the rules of intestacy, but not quite sure what they did want to do.
They've attempted it,
Yeah.
haven't they?
Yeah.
So I just wouldn't take that risk. I'm not going to start trying to service my car or pulling my own teeth. It's going to be a mechanic and a dentist.
Yeah.
And hopefully the mechanic for the car and the dentist for my teeth.
Let's
And
hope
for
so.
anyone that has just switched on, because I think so many people do think, you know, I've told the family what I want to happen. We've been together 34 years, so of course, both our families know that what's mine is Sean's, what's Sean is mine. And so that would be fine. But actually, if you pass without a legally binding will, the truth is you have got a will. And Ian, this is what we call the government will. Would you explain to anyone that's just switched on what that actually means? Because the government will isn't right for anybody. It wouldn't work for us because we're not married.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for all married. Well, it doesn't work for married people with
And
children
it's been
from
in
different
place
families.
quite a while.
Doesn't work for a single person on their own.
It doesn't care about us, whatever our situation is, but it can be even more catastrophic for unmarried couples, for example, because there's no provision for unmarried partners whatsoever.
And there is really real misconceptions of common law partners, isn't there?
We have testamentary freedom in the UK, which means we can and we should be encouraged to write our own will. But you therefore, if you pass away, one question is asked: did you pass away with your own will that's valid and in place, or not? Simple as that.
That's it.
And if you get the or not, no, they didn't have a will, there is a default position, and that's the government will. Because again, if you apply logic to it, there would be anarchy if there wasn't a default position. There's an either-or situation. You've either got your own will or you haven't.
There has to be something, I guess.
So the government
isn't there?
steps in and says, right, you've not made your own one, don't worry, we've done one for you. And it was set up in 1925. It's called the Rules of Intestacy.
And we can see it. It's just a series of yes/no questions, isn't it?
Yeah, that first question at the top there, I don't know if you see it on the screen, but actually it asks of the person that's passed away, it just said, are you married or in a civil partnership? I mean, it should be asked posthumously, technically, but, you know, were they married or in a civil partnership? And again, there's only two outcomes to that, yes or no.
Yeah.
Like we've all heard, you just mentioned it there, Sean, about, I've heard about common law husband and wife.
Yeah.
I've even had people come up to me and say, well, we've lived together for 10 years now, so we qualify for something. I'm like, and the number of times
It's just
people...
hearsay.
number of
isn't it?
times people talk about the
is.
7-year rule, but that's all about inheritance tax gifts. So there's a lot of misinformation that all gets melted into, I think I'll be okay. But if you're one of those people that's watching this show now and you think that you're in that bracket of, I'm sure everything will be okay, I would just encourage you to think why you think that or who told you that. Because there's lots of people who are like, I'm sure it'll be okay, but if you challenge them a little bit, like, why do you think it's okay? It's like, well, because, you know, we've been together for 10 years. Well, why does that make it okay? Because John down the pub told me and he's the Trivial Pursuit champion.
Must be right then.
What you saw on the screen a second ago is the government will, and that genuinely is what you get. Regardless of who you are, everyone in the UK gets the government will if they don't make their own. And that's why we do these shows, to say, please don't pass away with the government will. It doesn't care about you.
Have you ever written a will that follows the government will?
No, it's almost impossible, because one thing it doesn't do, it doesn't tell you who's going to deal with it to start with. When you make your own will, you're going to choose your executors and trustees. You're going to say, I want my husband, my children, or I want a professional to help. But the key words there are, you're going to choose. You choose.
It's all about you, isn't it?
Yeah. When it comes to children, you choose at what age they inherit. When it's sticking with children, if you've got underage children, you can choose guardians for them. If you've got personal gifts, you can choose to leave charitable donations, cash gifts, heirlooms. You choose all of that. If it comes to someone in your family that you don't want to inherit, you can exclude someone through your will. You can put in what's called a non-provision clause and make it clear, I've not had a relationship with my son or my daughter or whatever, I wouldn't like them to inherit. All of these are personal things bespoke to you. None of that is achievable with the government will, none of it. And that's why it's so important. For less than, well, the equivalent of like 70p a day.
And even if the family know what you want to happen, you've sat down and told the family, that isn't going to happen, is it? It must cause a lot of family upset when they actually really know what you wanted, and then it's completely the opposite with the government will.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound facetious. I could tell you three that I want to do anything now, about anything, not just when I die. I want to go water skiing immediately. It's nonsense, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
In fact, clearly that's not going to happen. So I understand why people think, well, I've told my husband, or I've told my eldest child, or I've told my best friend. It's nice that you've been able to tell them that, but it gives them no legal authority to actually carry that out.
To deliver it, yeah.
Because don't forget, at the point where they're going to step in and try and deal with it, you've passed away. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So you're not there to give that authority. That's why you have to do it in writing in a legal will, to say, no, this is what I want to happen. So making a will so selfless, it's unbelievable, because without it, you're saying to your family, I'm sure it'll be okay with the government will. Good luck.
And then they've got to deal with it all.
They've got to deal with it, and the fallout of it, and the arguments and all the rest of it.
And everybody will have an opinion.
And deep down, you've worked hard for everything. You must know who you want your estate to go to and who you want to look after. So don't leave it to chance.
Yeah.
Don't leave it to chance. If you've got your phone in your hand now, just text the word will to 66777. We'll call you back. The client care team is still there. Give them a call now. Because if you go to bed on this, tomorrow morning you'll wake up and life will get in the way and we'll just move on again.
Yeah.
You've got a real opportunity to do something amazing for yourself and your family now. Please don't let it pass.
We do it all the time. You think, yeah, definitely going to do it. Definitely. You're perhaps at home right now. I'm definitely, yes, I need to write a will. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes. And
well,
then
you've become really good at it, actually.
Yeah, because we've missed out on so many things. Last Christmas,
you do it
we were going away,
now,
got an amazing price for a weekend away between Christmas and New Year. Ridiculous bargain. Yeah, shall we? Should we do it? Should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we'll do it. I'll book it at the weekend. Went to book it at the weekend and it finished on like October the 1st or something, and it gone up £600. There was no way we were then going to go away for that. But we would have done if we'd have done it. And things get in the way. So that's the nice things. Writing a will, you might not think of, you know you need to do it. It's not like booking a holiday. However, if you put it off, it's going to be Christmas. It'll then be New Year, then it'll be spring, then it'll be summer. There's always something else going on, and one day it's just going to be too late.
And it's so important.
And sadly, yeah, you could be looking. I like to hope that, I believe in the white feathers and the robins and all of that, and that you're looking down. And can you imagine your devastation, looking down, knowing you wanted to write that, you were going to write that will, but you put it off. I'll do it tomorrow. And then you're watching your family fall apart.
Well, like all the stories we've talked about tonight, where everything goes wrong.
Everybody knew what you wanted.
All the problems, all the heartache, all the arguments, they're all avoidable.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it easier that you've lost your loved one, but it's going to stop all that extra upset.
Human nature is bad stuff's always going to happen to someone else.
Yeah.
But then if we take a step back, all of us around this table, everyone at home watching this now, it won't take us long to think about someone either immediately close to them or know someone where something bad's happened. You see it on the news, but we're removed. You hear about that horrible car accident, you're like, oh, that's horrible, and then you move on. That happened to someone, and it's always someone else. This is, with the lasting power of attorney, you're planning for the worst and you're hoping for the best.
Yeah.
With a will, you're just planning for the inevitable, but hoping that inevitable is obviously decades away.
Yeah, of course.
But the problem is we don't know what the future holds, so the only time we've got is now. There's some cheesy proverb that says you can't do anything yesterday and you can't do anything tomorrow, which makes perfect sense. Yesterday's gone, tomorrow never comes. It's now. So please don't go to bed without sending the text, because that's when regret can happen, but you won't regret if you do contact us tonight.
And we will show you how to contact, but can we, just before we go into that, because I think a lot of people, you'll think, it's not the government will that will fall in place if you haven't written a will. Won't work for me and Sean because we're not married, so it fell for us instantly. It won't work for you if you're married with children from different families. But I think a lot of single people will think, oh, well, I don't need a will really because I'll wait till I get married.
I'll wait till I get married.
I wait till I have children and then I've got someone to leave things to. But can you just very quickly tell us the story? Because this really hit me because I thought, oh, gosh. And obviously we don't know what this gentleman thought, but I think he probably thought, well, I'm not married, I haven't got kids.
I don't need
to write a will just yet. But we don't know, obviously. But he didn't write a will and he died quite young. And I think we all know, even though we didn't know him, what actually happened, he would never have wanted to happen.
No, he was quite wealthy as a medical professional as well, but he was young, he died unexpectedly. But the backstory was that when he was born, his father left home. So his father had nothing to do with him at all. So not even birthday cards. So basically he was brought up with his brother by his mum as a single parent. And sadly, his mum's basically had to deal with the loss of a son. When he passed away, he didn't have a will. We'll never know why. We'll never know why he didn't have a will. But that meant he did die intestate, so the government will kicks in. There's the default position again. The first question that's asked of him, are you married or were you married or in a civil partnership? The answer is no. So that takes you to the next question in the rules of intestacy. Do you have children? The answer again was no. The next question it takes you to is, do you have parents? And the answer was yes. and therefore his estate, everything he worked hard for, shared equally between his parents. So his mom, who's brought him up as a single parent, has to track down her ex-husband who's not been seen for decades, had nothing to do with the upbringing of a son, and tell him he's entitled to half of his estate. And, you know, that's not far-fetched. It's not like a weird scenario. It's just a horrible situation that was made worse because you can't imagine that that young man knew that was going to happen, or if he did he just think, well, I'm young, so I will get to it at some point? Yeah. Because sadly, when he didn't get to it, the net result was half of his estate went to his father, who had nothing to do with him ever.
He didn't
and I think that really just makes you realise that absolutely everybody, absolutely everybody needs a will, because the government will won't work whether you're in a relationship and been together for 34 years, whether you're married with children from different relationships, whether you're happily married with your own kids. It's not what you want to happen is going to happen with the government will. Or if you're single, everybody needs a will. It's so important, and it's so affordable. And all you're doing tonight is securing the price. We all know we need a will. So if you're thinking, let's do it, don't put it off anymore. You have got these prices till close of business on Friday, but do it right now. No, because like we always say, life gets in the way. So get in touch, really simple, but let's show you the offers first of all. If you want to get yourself the will offer, suggested retail price almost £250. The offer price was going to be £99, but we've got an extra 10% off that for you. So it's just £89. If you want to use the interest-free payments, it's just £22.25 on your first of 4 payments. And think about what you spend on that a week, probably. Coffee, gone, £22.25. Easily, yeah. And that is your will written, knowing what you've worked so hard for. All your life is going to go to the people and the loved ones that you want it to go to. It's the only way what you've worked so hard for, goes to the people you like. The people you don't want doesn't get anything. It's the only way to make it work is to write a legally binding will, and that is so affordable. But so is lasting power of attorney, and we are going to go into lasting power of attorney. Yeah, we're going to cover that again in just a couple of moments. It's so important, as important as the will, in fact. So £349, the suggested retail price, down to less than £200, but we're giving you that extra 10% off as well. So £179 it comes down to, and with those 4 interest-free payments, £44.75 on your first of 4 payments. If you missed us talking about that, we're going to recap on it in just a moment. And maybe you've been watching and you've listened about the will, you phoned up, you say, I want to do the will, and now you sit and listen about the lasting power of attorney, you think, oh, why didn't I say I'd do both? Because it is just as important. As long as you get in contact either by phone or by texting or on the website, you've secured all these prices. So when you speak to the team, when they get back to you, if you say, well, I just asked about the will, but I want to do both, they'll say, that's fine, you can have the deal that we discussed. So rather than £598, and actually rather than £269, which is our regular price, you have got that extra 10% off, only till close of business on Friday, and it goes down to £242. So you get your will and lasting power of attorney, 4 payments of £60.50. Another reason to do it right now is we do put things off and then nothing ever happens. So do it now so you know you've secured the deal. But also do it right now because the first 250 people, and these books always go, will get this fabulous book that I think everybody from working life should have a book like this. It's called What My Family Should Know, and basically you record all your information in one place. So if you do pass away, the family aren't searching here, there and everywhere trying to find everything. It's got the obvious things in there like pensions and bank accounts, but it also has things in there like passwords for your computer, your tablet or your phone. And that's not just about documentation, it's about all those personal things like photographs. Photographs are always on our phones, our tablets now, aren't they? And you might know your parents or your brother has got a really special picture, but no one can get on to get it because you don't know you can't suddenly find the pass number to your phone or tablet. But it might be emails actually, because now, though usually you were looking for letters, there's not so many letters now. A lot of it is emails now. You choose to have everything by email. A family member to Sean died very suddenly, wasn't expected, and loads of information was on his tablet, and they did not have the code, didn't know how to get onto that tablet. And there's enough stress already. They weren't meant to lose the dad, terribly upset, couldn't get what they needed from the tablet until luckily the grandson was walking past, and he's only young, so they they'd spoke away from him really most of the time, but he just happened to hear they were on about Grandad's passcode, and he was like, I know it.
Yeah, he used to play on the tablet.
So it's real vital things in that book, and the first 250 people will get that. Get in contact either on the phones, on the website, or, of course, text. Texting is the easiest way. Take a quick photo of this and then do it straight away. Either go to simplelaw.co.uk/shop on TV. You don't need to speak to anybody. You'll just pop your details in and you've secured the prices. The team are there till 3 a.m, so if you're watching on +1, jump onto the website if you can, or text. But they are there still right now live, so 0300 600 600. But one of the simplest ways is to text, and this is so easy. Your phone's right there, it's in your hand. I bet you're looking at it whilst you're watching the TV. Text Will to 66777. It's done. I do every competition that's that. I did one just again the other day and then realised I've already done it twice. And I bet I don't win, but you will win.
We never win.
You're winning all the time with this, because what you've done is secure all those prices by just texting Will to 66777. It's as easy as that.
You can also go through our website, remember, shopontv.co.uk. Scroll down the website on the homepage, come to our on-air partners, and when you get to the on-air partners, go over to the right-hand side, you'll see the Simpler Law logo. Just click on there, it takes you through to those exclusive offers, which are only available until the close of business Friday, so do it right now.
And this is another really easy way to do it. Just fill in that form. I know all the answers to all those questions, and press submit, and that's it. You've done it. Go to bed, go to work. You've secured those prices, and you've taken the first step. I think that's what we're really rubbish at, is taking the first step to get things done.
Yeah.
The next bit's really easy, because Simpler Law make it really easy, and what you've done tonight is you've taken the first step and you've made it really affordable, because you've got extra special savings.
The other thing to remember is you don't need any documents, you don't need anything with you.
You don't need to know anything, really.
You're just securing those offers right now. We've talked about wills. We're going to give you a quick recap on lasting power of attorney if you've just joined us. We always tend to get a surge in audience at this time in our shows. So if you've heard of lasting power of attorney but you're not quite sure what it is, Emma, can you just explain lasting power of attorney, what it actually means?
So what it means is it's a document that you will put in place if you was to ever lose capacity, so through maybe an accident or even an illness, something like dementia, and you are giving power to the person that you've chosen, so the attorney, or it could be attorneys, as Ian said earlier. You know, you can have more than one person to do that. And what they're doing is they're going to step into your shoes. So in the eyes of the institutes, they basically become you. So they can control, you know, the finances, the day-to-day running of everything that you would normally do.
Because though you'd expect if you looked after your mum or your dad, you thought, well, I'll be able to just do that if they're not able to do it themselves. Yeah. Or if you're married, you think, well, obviously, as a wife or a husband, I'll be able to take control. They're poorly, so I need to do it now. But again, legally, you can't, can you?
Unfortunately not. I think we all assume that. You know, I'm married and I would assume, you know, I can't go into my husband's bank account now.
No.
Well, he's got capacity and say,
so
can I, you know, withdraw his money? So, yeah, he's obviously vulnerable at that point. So, yeah.
And there's a list of things when it comes to property and affairs with your lasting power of attorney. This is just some of the things that you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously if we're of age, you know, you can claim your pension still, you know, that's a really important one, I think, if we're already retired.
Well, even though you're poorly, you're still going to need to pay for the house. You still need to pay your bills. You still need to buy food.
We're coming into winter, you know, the heating bills and everything's going to be going up.
Nothing stops just because you do, unfortunately.
Absolutely not, no. And then obviously all your day-to-day accounting, anything to do with money, household bills, you know, if we are in the middle of the process of buying or selling a house or something like that, that's really important. You'd want that to continue.
Yeah. Or it may be that you need to sell the house to put your loved one into a care home.
That is very true, Hayley, yeah, unfortunately.
Which, again, would be out of your control completely.
It would be, yeah. And then, obviously, HMRC, you know, you might have your own business, you might be self-employed, something like that. You still need to deal with that, yeah.
So that's the first one when it comes to lasting power of attorney, but there is a second one, isn't there?
There is the health and welfare, which I think is really, it's an emotional one, this one, because it's about how do you want your loved one to be looked
cared
after
for.
and cared
I
for?
think it's just as important.
It is definitely just as important.
Because we came to you, simple law for my mum's lasting power of attorney, only knowing about the finance side, but as soon as you explained there was a second, I was like, this is just as important. Mum.
Yeah, it down to where they're going to live. You know, if they need to go into a home, where they're going to live, could it be miles away? Day-to-day routine, what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear. It seems really, really trivial, but that's their personality, that's who they were. Things down medication. Are they allowed to leave, you know, the home? Can they go on that day trip? Can they go on that holiday that they would go with you every year for, you know, it's things like that. It's the little things that we take for granted, isn't it?
It certainly is.
When you think, there's been a lot of stories actually on television, in the newspapers, with the lasting powers of attorney. We saw a programme just the other day.
Yeah, there was a whole show on it, wasn't there?
And even though we know how important lasting power of attorney is, I was blown away that their lady, her husband, they found he'd got a real unusual brain issue that they didn't really understand. He went into hospital and then he was extremely poorly. And she wanted to bring him home to look after him, but because she hadn't got lasting power of attorney, she wasn't able to do that because he wasn't well enough to say, my wife can look after me. I want my wife to look after me. She had to fight to bring him home to look, and that blew. And I know what lasting power of attorney is, but that still blew my mind.
Yeah.
None of it feels right.
No.
None of it feels right. But again, there's a legal undercurrent to all of these things. And if you think about it, even as a husband and wife, you have no authority over each other to make decisions for each other. And the second that you lose capacity, you're deemed to be a vulnerable person at that point, so you're protected. And if that gentleman couldn't make a decision for himself, then someone has to step in his shoes to make that decision. And if he's not got a lasting power of attorney that says, I want my wife to be that
to look
person,
after me,
she can't make that decision for him, which seems ludicrous. But not every marriage is perfect, and not every relationship is perfect.
It makes sense.
And so the default position, unfortunately, is to think the worst, but not automatically give yourself that authority. You know, we just talked about it there. Emma raised it really well. We've just said that we can't make decisions on behalf of other people now, or access their accounts now, whilst they're fit and well.
So if they're vulnerable,
the second they lose capacity, they're even more protected. So that restriction doesn't lift. If anything, it gets double kicked.
It's more important,
So whilst that seems really ridiculous and adds to the stress of that moment, that's why we encourage people to do lasting powers of attorney, because had that gentleman made a lasting power of attorney, named his wife as one of the attorneys, she could have said, no, look, he trusted me, I've now got his voice, he's incapacitated, I'm now speaking for him, I'm going to bring him home. They'd still have to do all the checks to make sure that was the right thing for him from a medical point of view, but there'd been no argument with her because he's documented clearly that he trusts this person. He's literally donated his power to her.
And that can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be more than one person, like you were saying.
Whoever you want.
Yeah, whoever you want, it's your choice.
Again, everything you say, it's your choice, it's your document.
This whole thing is about control and choice. If you don't make a lasting power of attorney, you have no control, you have no choice. If you don't make a will, you have no control, you have no choice.
We've said about the will, if you haven't written your own will, you have got a will because you've got the government will that falls into place and isn't right for anybody. But if you haven't got lasting power of attorney and you want to step into their shoes, look after them financially or look after their welfare, what do you do then? Is there like a government thing that falls into place?
Yeah, you have to follow the court process, and that again is there's only one option. There's not multiple options that you can do. You're either incapacitated with a lasting power of attorney in place, or you're not. And if it's not, someone who may or may not be the person you would have chosen to look after your affairs.
Oh God!
Especially financially, they might be awfully after your money or something.
Yeah, which is a bit stupid as they're going through the court of protection. They're going to be supervised, but it might just be something else. The bottom line is,
could just be someone you don't like.
You're not
Could be an
choosing
estranged child. To be fair.
So the only route I often misspeak and say the only route you've got, but the only route your loved ones have got, because you're incapacitated, is to apply for something called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. That's really expensive to do. Even if you just do it on your own, the fees are astronomical. You can see on the screen there.
And you've actually got to find this money as well, haven't you? Because obviously you can't get.
You're not accessing the person. So you can see there the application fee alone is £421. They'll do an assessment on you, That's going to cost £100. If they ask for a hearing, that's another £259. And then there's a supervision fee that's actually paid. That's ongoing. That's an annual fee as well for however long that you are acting as a deputy. So you can see there that there's £1,100 that just goes out just in the bureaucratic application. Now, that's if you don't use professionals. You can times that by 3 quite easily if you need to use a professional to help you with that, and quite often people do.
Because it wouldn't be an easy thing
the
to do.
The application forms is thick and is mind-blowing.
And it's legal jargon, isn't it? It's something you probably wouldn't understand.
We have a court of protection department, and it's arguably, for want of a better description, one of the saddest departments because, again, it's one of these things that could have been avoided with a 15-minute phone call. And now we're having to set off on this path that's going to cost this poor person thousands of pounds and dealing with a court when all their energy and time should be spent looking after the loved one.
Well, yeah, because your loved one you want to be by your loved one's side looking after them, and you're now trying to fight to do that.
And arguably the expense of it, whilst I'm not being dismissive of the expense, because the expense is pretty bad, that's not the worst of it. It's the length of time that it takes for this application process to go through. I think the Ministry of Justice have reviewed this department twice now already. It's still taking up to a year for applications to be approved and or declined, at which time, sadly, people have passed away in that period. And all that time, you're still not able to...
You're focused on that, not looking after your loved one.
Yeah. And again, you make a lasting power of attorney, truthfully, planning for the worst, but hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So it's there if you need it.
You never have to use it, but you have
Let's
that
hope,
peace of mind.
Hopefully you get it.
Mums, weight off our shop, complete peace of mind. It's there if we need it, and let's hope we never do.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
And I think you went one step further. Yours is registered with the Office of Public
We've
Guardian
done it already.
So,
yeah, we did it straight away.
So if God forbid anything happened to your mom, you can just step into her shoes because that's already being done, which is amazing.
It's brilliant. The offers we've got, we are coming towards the end of the show. Let's show you those offers once again. Whether it's the will, whether it's the lasting power of attorney, or whether it's the combination that you can see there. So your family estate and will should be £249 on the suggested retail price. The normal price, our offer price, less than 100 at 99, but we're going to give you an extra 10% off, so it comes down to £89. When it comes to a will, it's so important. Everyone is going to use a will at some point, and it doesn't matter what age you are. If you split the cost, £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. Then we go to the lasting power of attorney that we were just talking about. The suggested price of £349 for what we were just talking about is a great price, but it comes down to less than £200.
That's it. And of course, you have got that extra 10% off as long as you get in contact. Before the close of work on Friday, it'll go down to £179 from £349. So a huge saving of £170. And you can split that cost with 4 payments. £44.75 is the first of those 4 payments. Think what you pay on a takeaway. We can't get a takeaway round our way for that cost. Honestly, it's money so well spent. And it's money you would spend, but you're actually spending on things that are so important. And making sure the well-being of your family and your loved ones is sorted. And then if you do get in contact and you decide, well, actually, I said about the will, actually, I've secured the price for the will, but now I've listened to lasting power of attorney, I wish I'd said I'd do both. You can do both, and on your screen right now is the deal of doing the two together.
It's a huge reduction.
Huge saving.
Usual price, £598. £269 was going to be the offer price, but we're going to give you another 10% again off the combination. So it comes down to £242.
So the truth is, if you get in contact right now and secure these prices, whichever option you decide you want to go for, you've secured the deal. So just get in contact. The other reason to do it right now is you'll forget if you don't do it right now. And then sadly, it'll be too late. Friday will have come and gone, and then the price has gone up, and then you think, oh, I'll leave it. And then all of a sudden, something happens and it's just completely too late. But another reason to do this right now is the first 250 people also get this book. We're very good at putting things off, and then all of a sudden, you think, why didn't I just get it sorted? get it sorted, secure the deals, and you'll also be in for one of these books as well. At the moment, they do disappear, though, so grab it whilst the stock is there.
It's called What My Family Should Know. Inside here, you can record everything that what your family should know when you do pass. Things like your pensions.
Yeah, it's the things that they're hunting for in the secret places.
Life
letters
policies, letters. The other great thing is this now includes things like your digital accounts, passwords for your iPad or your computer or your phone code, all of it in just one place, so you're not hunting around. First 250 people will receive that book. And remember, now is the time to do it, as Hayley was just saying.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Take that first step.
We've all done it, haven't we? We've all seen that deal on a flight, and then you go to book it and it's gone up £600.
And this is so much more important, isn't it?
Didn't I do it? This is so much more important, and do it whilst you've got these great prices. But the fact is, it's not even just the price. Do it right now and secure the prices so you actually get it done, because we're so good at... I'll do it next week.
Just getting
next week comes, then it's Christmas, then it's New Year, then it's spring, then you'll be booking your summer holidays, and then one day it'll just be too late, and you know you should have done. You'll be looking down, and I do believe you look down. We can, but I like to think that's what happens. I believe in my white feathers and my robins. Looking down, watching your family fall out because they knew what you wanted. You told them what you wanted, but if you haven't got a legally binding will, that government will falls into place, and it doesn't work for anybody. Take a look at how to get in contact, because it's really easy, and just do it right now and take that first step. Either on the website, simplylaw.co.uk/shop on TV. Again, don't need to speak to anybody. You just fill in your details. They'll get back to you later on today in the next couple of days to secure a time that's right to really sit down and talk things through. Or actually, the team are still there at the minute on the phones.
A few more minutes there on the phones. 0333 600 2600 if you want to call the team in the call centre. If you are watching on +1, either go to the website or text the word will. This is always the most popular on these shows. Text the word will, WILL, to 66777. That whatever offer you want to go for, whether it's the wills, whether it's the lasting power of attorney, or whether it's the combination. If you do that, you've secured the offer. If you're the first 250, you will get that book that we were talking about. But those prices are only available until the close of business on Friday, so take advantage right now.
And before you know it, it'll be Saturday, it'll be Sunday. Do it right now, secure those prices, and then decide which option you want to go for, whether you want to do the will on its own, will and lasting power. As long as you've secured prices, you've done that bit. And Ian, for anyone that's just switched on, of course you can watch us on +1 now as well. Just you'll be able to catch the end, or watch us on YouTube. Everybody, whatever situation you're in, you need a will, don't you?
If you want your last act on planet Earth to be yours and nobody else's, you need a will. And wealth and the value of your estate is all relative. You know, it's relative to you.
Yeah.
What you've got is yours, and if you want to make sure that it's going to go to where you want it to go, the only way to do that is to make a will. And that means that you control what happens. Means that you choose who deals with it for you. If you've got children, you choose what age they inherit. If you've got young children, you can choose guardians. If you've got gifts that you want to leave, you can choose gifts. It's all about you choosing. It's personal, it's bespoke, it's unique to you. If you don't make a will, you lose all control, and basically a set of government rules that are 100 years old are going to dictate what happens to everything you've worked hard for. And that is very, very rarely, if ever, what you would have chosen for yourself.
Every situation we've looked at tonight, and your situation will be the same. The government will doesn't work for anyone, doesn't work for us. We've been together 34 years. We fail on the first question. And it doesn't work for married people with children from different families. It doesn't work for a single it doesn't work for a single person. It doesn't work for anyone.
It's simple, it's straightforward, and simpler law make it affordable as well. So take advantage right now of those great discounted offers. Huge thank you to Ian and to Emma for joining us. Lovely to see you. And thank you to you for watching at home. And make sure you join us every evening here at Shop on TV between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. We'll see you very soon.
See you later.